Or not Mr. Anderson, Agent Smith.
Agent Smith?
You remember in The Matrix when he
Mm-hmm.
pulls the ear thing out of his ear and he starts telling that guy human beings are the virus?
Yep.
That's a great monologue.
I tend to agree with him. A scourge on this planet.
Scourge.
Yet some of us are pretty good looking. So it's sort of a double-edged sword, really.
So an attractive scourge on this planet?
Yeah. A scourge on this planet, but with a really great ass. Hey, Dan.
Howdy.
Long time, brother. How you been?
Since yesterday, I'm swell.
Excellent. All good down in sunny South Florida?
Woohoo! Just sitting around waiting for the governor's orders to expire on May 1st.
Oh, I bet you
Aren't
can't
we
wait.
all?
Get out there and germ it up with the rest of them.
I'm practicing my cough already.
That'll clear lines.
I read today one of the interesting features of this bug is that in people who get it that are in their 30s and 40s, who are supposed to be able to sort of shrug it off, they have a statistically significant increase in the occurrence of strokes because of it. So that'll be fun.
So they're masturbating more.
No, they're having brain hemorrhages more, which I don't know. I guess you could do both.
Is that some sense of
Porque no los dos?
schadenfreude for you? I'm old, but you guys get the strokes? What does that mean?
Well, who are you talking about? I'm in my
You.
50s, 30s, and 40s. No.
I know. It sounds like schadenfreude.
Well, no, I don't. It's just a nasty little bug.
Take that, you young punks.
Yeah, you damn millennials in your 40s. What, were you born in 1981? Get the hell out of here, punks.
I think I read
always-
that. I don't know. It just seems like they just listed 6 new symptoms. It's like
I just don't think they know very much about what this little beast does.
That's the thing. That they're only guessing. Like even on the stroke thing the fact that everybody's living in seclusion with no exercise and eating very, very badly. Something to do with
You talking about me?
strokes. I'm talking about people in general right now.
it's almost
only
like
thing-
Magic the Gathering. COVID buys new powers every couple of weeks.
The
only-
COVID expansion kit.
The only thing that I've changed about my diet is I've marginally increased my intake of beef jerky. But other than that, it's just like all vegetables and lean meats. Mostly
Yeah, well,
chicken.
then good for you, but everybody else apparently is picking out on Domino's and Taco Bell.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, we're doing our part to keep the economy afloat, right?
There you go.
And I would not pick on younger people just to pick on younger people. And I don't hate millennials or any of the rest of them, but there could be something to be said that there is a generation of people who grew up with Wi-Fi and online and all that didn't play out in the mud as much.
Hey, Matt. That's
Hey,
true.
guys.
They might not have they might not have eaten enough germs in their youth to build up those strong immune systems that they need now in pandemic times.
Could be.
I like
You
the
might-
fact
you
that
might be
Matt
on
has a
something.
different background every time he logs on now. Being a tour of his house.
I like it. That's his back door in case he has to make an escape, right? Oh no, that's
Hey, no backdoor
Is that a back?
jokes.
No, that's a china cabinet. Is that a china cabinet or a back door
Or a
behind you?
secretary, man.
I'm not sure he can hear us yet.
I don't
Matt,
think
can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. You just weren't responding to any of the things they were saying. So I was like, can he hear?
All right, hear it again. Sorry. My son has to download Google Classroom tomorrow, and because I set parental permissions like a year ago, I can't hack into his laptop to put the goddamn Classroom on. So I'm just slowly losing my mind. And now that I try to say, okay, he's not 8 anymore, he's 13, so take all the stuff out. I'm like, nope, we know it's you, Xander. We know you hacked in. You tried to fool us, but Microsoft's on to you.
The password is too young for porn.
Hey, that's my password.
Yeah, I know.
I was going to say 8 was probably safe. You damn sure need the password now that he's 13.
Yeah, no kidding. Sanders not 13.
No,
Is he?
they-
He's 8.
but-
Okay, that's right.
But Google won't let you download anything unless if you have set their age for 8 until they're 13. They got to ask you for permissions for everything.
Ah,
Great. Unless you set those permissions like a year ago and you're like, okay. So anyway, sorry. Multiple permissions have to get set up to get this happen. It's like diffusing a bomb over here, and I keep failing.
Awesome. Hey, Mike.
All right, so
Okay, Storm's ready to attack.
I'm gonna probably double box here so I can put my headphones on so I don't keep screaming the whole time.
I'm sorry, Storm. You mean the space dragon?
Yes.
No!
Smack.
Or I mean Beltran. Yeah, that's what I've got.
I'm supposed to be safe in this one.
I just wanted to say hey, see if you guys are having fun. As much fun as you guys
Thanks,
claim to be
Mike.
having.
Storm died and is gone for a day.
It's gone for a day.
That's what happens when you bring a space dragon on the Gin and Tonic.
When you bring a dragon to a space fight. All right.
Dragon wrestling against
No
space
one even
bears.
said it that time.
Oh, I'm
I
sorry,
wanted to chime in
dragon.
and say hey. So I'll let you guys get back to your space skills.
Hey, before you leave, I just want to say today, it's today, right?
Yes.
Is Mike's and Amy's 20th anniversary.
Happy anniversary.
Happy
Mike and
anniversary.
Amy, that's
It's going to
awesome.
stay with me for 20 years.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, here's to her strength.
What do you have on her?
every day a new record.
What do you have on her?
I'm not disclosing that. But
Obviously, those records are sealed.
I promise I would. So
Well, congratulations, man. It's great news.
thank you very much. All right, you guys have fun.
Tell Amy the same from us.
Actually, she just heard you.
Oh, okay, good. Congratulations, Amy. I can't believe you put up with him for 20 years.
Woohoo! I made it.
No, there's no end.
Sorry, Amy.
Every day a new record, Amy.
So,
All right. Good to see you, man.
yep. All right, you guys have fun.
Now get the heck out of here. Trying to have a game here. A serious game for
We
Pete's
use
sake.
Beltran on the Gin Tonic.
It's been so long since we played Traveler. I was like, wait, is Mike in this one?
No,
It is getting kind of all confused.
That's the thing. I wish we had more spectators who would log in, make some wise ass, some like what we would call like seagull spectators, right? They
Yep.
come in, they fly in, they crap all over everything, and then they fly back out, and just sort of say hi.
That's what I'm going to do on Saturdays. I fly in and watch, but
I did it for a couple Saturdays, but I've been otherwise engaged last two.
What have you been doing the last 2 Saturdays? You been playing board games with the fam?
Yeah, well, we have like a Zoom group of board gamers online, so been trying to figure out how to set it up. Oh,
There's 2 of you there.
yeah. Sorry, I'm gonna have to put my headphones on in a second.
Okay.
We do we have like a group of 12 board gamers that we do a bunch of games online, mostly party games. But we have a few other like smaller games. So we have like a one camera over the board and one person navigating with other players or directing their pieces.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, you're saying you're cheating on us with another gaming group.
Yes, I'm sorry, guys. This is a pre-existing condition.
Yeah. So honestly, he's cheating with us on that gaming group. We're
Yeah,
the new
well-
guys.
Oh, okay.
The way
Oh,
I
well,
got
that's
into
better then.
We're
the
the
way I got
slutty
into this
newcomers. He's
The way I got into this group, Les and I were talking about something work-related because we both worked the same corporation at the time, I think.
Mhm.
Or maybe I was looking for a gig and you got me into your corporation. But we were talking. I had just gotten back from a con where Steve Jackson had signed some stuff for me, and I was reminiscing, watching the master at work because he was playing 12 games of Ogre at the same time and told us to pay his with total people who paid like $1,000 each to play with him. So anyway, so it'd be a picture of his Gary Gygax Dragon magazine envelope, and that's he's like, I'm running a game, you should check it out. So I stopped by, I think as a watcher and then an NPC twice.
Yep.
Then made my move, and then I was immediately murdered by Kaltra. And then I came back as a regular featured player.
That's sort of our initiation is getting murdered by Kaltra.
And I got this really weird email from Dawn about do everything that whatever Shane says. Don't listen to Kaltra. And I was like, is this man crazy? Or
no, I wasn't, was I?
That was good advice, probably.
Yeah.
All right. Speaking of
Try
good
to
advice,
warn a guy. No.
try to warn a guy. It never works. Never works out. All right. So speaking of good advice, let's just jump right in because there is a lot of shit happening to you guys.
Is that good advice?
Oh well, no, not really. I had to transition somehow.
Okay. I'll give you points for that.
Okay, cool. So just go through some of the things. So last time where we ended on was you guys had gotten back to the Gin and Tonic after leaving the Bettendorf. A lot of interesting things on the Bettendorf that you guys discovered, not the least of which was a fusion reactor that may or may not explode at some point in the future, a fair amount of death, and one interesting creature, the necropsy of which turned up some very interesting aspects. But at the very end, Weber Jiix had been stung by the creature on the Bettendorf, and seemed to be sort of shrugging it off. And then everybody sort of got back to the Gin and Tonic. Weber and Palmer were actually sort of drinking scotch and talking about things. And Weber had the little patch on the hole and that kind of stuff. And so Dr. Wagner, after going through some of the other stuff that he was doing, decided to re-examine that wound and discovered to his dismay that despite the initial diagnosis by drone on the Bettendorf, where the wound looked pretty mild, there had been significant necrosis through the abdominal wall into the liver, part of the small bowel, and it had touched at least one kidney. Weber had, by any rights, one, Weber's neural ace should have been screaming bloody murder in his ear. Two, he should have been screaming bloody murder from the pain from this. But it had seemed to move so stealthily through his abdominal cavity that neither of those things were happening. So when we last left, Wagner had put Weber under and had chased everybody out of med lab and said, I need to perform surgery right now on Weber Jiix to try and stop this from happening.
I'm sure as soon as he had the ultrasound going, I was more like, hey man, those are eggs, right? I can see the egg right there.
No, it was basically something, some sort of agent was necrotizing the underlying tissue, and it had gone well beyond the initial stab. So you guys were thinking whatever was that liquid, and it's just when you guys did the necropsy, when Dr. Wagner did the necropsy on the creature, it had a stinger, and behind that stinger was a reservoir of a clear liquid, which one assumes that was what was injected into Weber. Now, initially, the initial wound right after it had happened showed just a small wound, some minor bleeding, and some inflammation. 4 to 6 hours later, there was the abdominal wall was perforated. There was dead necrotized tissue within, and it was beginning to eat away at your internal organs. Frankly, let to go, it would have probably killed you inside of 24 hours.
The alcohol in my system was angry that something else is eating away at my internal organs.
It could be the scotch in your bloodstream was staving off. It was slowing down the process and somehow fighting the necrotizing agent. But you have to assume that it was whatever that thing stung you with. Dr. Wagner took you into surgery immediately to try and remove.
All right, so you mean I should stop running my mouth for a second while other people do their thing? Check.
You gotta mute something because you're reverberating.
Oh my! All right,
okay.
I think it's very dramatic.
All right, so Dr. Wagner and Weber are in surgery. So Palmer is on board, and he's worried about his friend, but he's also would like to get back onto the Bettendorf to check on a few things before it blows up. He would like, but also he would like you guys to sort of help him out. He is very upset and angry that his summer home has been more or less destroyed or will be destroyed eventually when the fusion reactor, the containment shield is breached, which according to Black and Tam's quick visual analysis is probably going to happen at some point. That fusion reactor the containment field will be breached, and it will react somewhat dramatically. So that's another thing that you might want to have to do is you might need to notify system authorities that there's going to be a fusion explosion out here in the quiet belt, and maybe there's something they can do to it to keep from sort of sending off pieces of asteroid in all different directions, because that could be dangerous to other summer homes, to spacecraft moving forward, that kind of thing. So that's something. But Palmer's very interested in sort of recruiting you guys to help him get revenge. Whoever did this to him, and he doesn't know who yet. Part of which is why you suspect he wants to get back onto the Gin and Tonic and see what he can find out. But he wants revenge, and he's willing to provide you with the things that you had reached out to him about: weapons, shipborne and hand weapons specifically. I mean, this is his business. If you will assist him in taking his revenge on who or what did this to him.
You mentioned they killed his AI, but good in the context of the galaxy we live in, that's a big deal, right?
It's a big deal. Yeah, AIs are supposed to not have that happen to them, and these guys went out of their way to. So they lased the AI containment housing. I mean, you saw the room, and it was multiple lasers had tried to laser the thing down. The AI deployed its fail-safe stuff, which is essentially it ejected a container that included a downloaded backup on biological tissue of its AI core. Essentially, it downloaded that into this containment thing and jettisoned out of the asteroid. What they'd done was they went, hunted it down, found that containment thing, and lased it, essentially, and blew it out of the sky. So when you guys picked it up after what Gin had found, it was just simply a broken and empty containment vessel. The AI inside was destroyed. So yeah, they went out of their way to kill that AI so that nobody could find out what it knew. So yeah, so Palmer is very pissed off, and he would love to have your guys' help on stuff. So this is all this stuff, and plus you have a dead creature, which you're not entirely sure what that's all about, because it doesn't look like a creature at all. It looks like something else, and it has none of the physical traits that you would normally associate with an animal. Also,
it had nothing to do with the attack on the place.
Well, I mean, you don't know. Palmer would tell you that it certainly wasn't in his asteroid before.
Right.
So there's that. You also, I mean, you can do some analyses on Gin has been running some analyses on sort of the type of damage. The drone that you guys took with you when you went over there is still on the Gin and Tonic. So theoretically, you might be able to convince Palmer to do whatever he has to do, or examine whatever he has to examine by drone, which you guys can control and look through.
It's still on the asteroid, not on.
It's still on the asteroid, yeah. You still got a drone over there. Gin has been using the drone to test spectrally examine residue samples from the areas that have been hit by missiles, trying to figure out the chemical signature of those missiles and maybe come up with some sort of ID on where they might have come from. Like if it's a Kazinti technology, if it's a front technology, that kind of thing.
Like you do with bombs to find out what.
Right, exactly. Manufacturer, location of manufacturer, that kind of stuff. So that's just the latest and greatest of your stuff. You still have a guy in cryo down in the hold, and a woman that's been under sedation for well over a week since you guys left Greenburn. In med lab, and she's just in essentially what Wagner has put her into essentially an induced coma. He's also performed brain and thoracic surgery on her, and I assume that he's told you guys this. He's removed her neural lace from her brain, which may have rendered her intellectually inoperable. He also removed a targeting mechanism from one of her eyes and an adrenal pump from around her heart. He's basically essentially removed these from her, excised them, and then stitched her back up. She's still alive.
We haven't killed her. We've just removed her heart and her brain.
We haven't removed the heart. The organs themselves are still there. So the eye
I thought we were going to be good guys in this one. Sounds pretty horrible.
So he had to remove the eye. The eye is a cybernetic eye that has a targeting mechanism in it that allows her, it's sort of like
dangerous.
Terminator targeting, right?
Right.
It gives her pluses on her 2 hits. The adrenal pump it has 2 functions. One,
well, let's put it this way. I can cancel my Viagra prescription.
Oh, that's so sick. No, it doesn't do that. It will wake you if you go unconscious. It will wake you up. So you come back. It will sort of adrenal pump will kick in, and it will bring you back to consciousness. Now, it won't give you back any hit points, but you can be conscious at in circumstances that you would otherwise render you unconscious. Also, once per day, you can kick it in, and it will essentially work like a haste spell kind of thing. It gives you double speed, double strike for 2 rounds. It doesn't last long, but it's there when you need it. But anyway, Dr. Wagner has removed these from her, along with her neural lace, which may have, frankly, injured her from an intellectual standpoint. She might have brain damage.
Permanently injured or temporarily injured because she had missed her lace? I didn't think we were doing that kind of stuff.
I don't know, but removing someone's neural lace is essentially very invasive brain surgery. Now, in Dr. Wagner's defense, he is a world-class surgeon.
So that means he gets to do whatever he wants?
Well, no, but if anybody could remove lace from somebody and keep them from being permanently brain damaged, it would probably be Dr. Wagner. Whether or not that's happened in this case would depend on the roll of 2 dice. Now,
I'm willing to do under oath.
Under oath, you might have to. All right, so
I thought we still wanted to question this woman at some point too. Besides her authorities, I think a brain dead person that we've stripped her. I thought we were taking her ability to harm us out of the way.
Well, Wagner will tell you that there are brain waves. I mean, there is brain activity. So he's got her on monitors. He's monitoring her heart and everything. She's essentially in an induced coma, so that you guys can keep her quiet until you can get her where you want to take her, wherever that may be. She was one of the kidnappers from the cryo thing, so it might be that I always kind of assumed that you guys were keeping her on ice to hand over to the Spofulam Corporation people who said, "Come back and bring our material scientist back."
Yep.
Yeah.
So that, I mean, you could do that.
That's how we left it.
Yeah. She still has brain function. The depth of that brain function is, I mean, she's exhibiting the brainwave patterns of somebody in a coma, because that's
Just
exactly
out of
what she
curiosity,
is.
is that because we wanted this neural lace for ourselves or yourself, and we couldn't afford it? I thought it was reasonably priced, but I know my guy was hot. We had more money than most starting characters.
It's not. It's pretty expensive, but it's relatively common. The thing about neural lace is it's not really transferable. Your brain is different from everybody else from an electrochemical standpoint, from an architectural standpoint. And so neural lace is a very invasive sort of brain technology. It's essentially customized to you at installation. You can't just pull a neural lace out of somebody else and pop it into another person. The other 2 things that he go out, yes, but
I would say as I'm on a slab, under the doctor's care, I will refrain from making any other smart ass remarks.
Yeah, he's
trust you, Doc.
He's elbow deep in surgery right now, so there's that stuff. So you got Palmer asking you to help him find out what's going on and try and help out, and maybe you can go back to the Bettendorf to sort of take a look at things and see if there's any clues. Gin comes back and says, Gin comes back and says, I've got some analytical results from the drone on the Bettendorf if you guys are wanting to hear it. So Eric says he'll be here in a little bit. He's still trying to get the baby to sleep.
Sure.
Okay, so the first thing he says is, look, I've been looking at these missile impacts, and frankly, after doing some spectral analyses on the residues and looking at the impact sites and running some regression analyses on that, I don't think these were missile attack strikes at all. I think the portion of this asteroid that were impacted were hit by rail guns, small ship-bound rail guns. It's very and it could easily be mistaken that the Bettendorf AI mistook railgun ammunition for missile impacts. It would have happened so quickly that it would be unlikely. I mean, it would be an easy thing to miss. According to what Gin says, he thinks that the railgun ammunition was probably ice moving at maybe 0.1 C, 10% of the speed of light, which is pretty fast, and impacted in the 5 to 10 megajoule range from an energy standpoint. He's thinking it was probably ice. Could be something is like a carbon sphere or something like that, but probably ice, about the size of maybe a marble. Would account for the damage, but there's
speed, yep.
Yeah, there's no residue here from a chemical weapon, from a chemically propelled weapon, like a chemical propulsion weapon, which a drone would be.
Right.
And there's no
No
high
foreign
explosive
particles at all, basically.
Yeah, there's no high explosive residue either, and no real radiation either. Which a chemical rocket with a nuclear tipped head would have left.
The perfect ammunition if you want to board it in a vac suit.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, yeah.
Because there's no radiation to affect you or anything like that. You're just opening it up to space, and you've got a vac suit on.
Yeah, it's essentially a can opener. So, also, he's positioned the drone on the Bettendorf to observe the reactor. So he should have a bit of time. There are certain things that fusion reactors do when their containment shields are breached. They don't immediately go up in smoke. There'll be probably a 10 to 15 second window of warning, but so far it doesn't look like the shields have been breached. And so Gin asks the question is, do you want me to alert system traffic control to come out here with potentially a containment net to try and contain the explosion? We probably by rights should alert them that this is going to happen, because frankly he's like, I don't think there's any way we can stop it.
Who's he asking that question to?
He's asking it to you guys, primarily you. Yeah.
Is Palmer here?
Yeah, Palmer's definitely here.
I would definitely want to consult with him first, just in case there might be some embarrassing stuff that you might want to know about before we bring any authorities in.
Nothing that wouldn't. So he sort of smiles. He's like, "I appreciate your discretion." He goes, essentially, there's nothing on there, nothing improper on there that wouldn't be wiped in a fusion reactor event.
I'm sure Palmer then adds, it's not like I'm carrying bear porn on my ship.
Yeah, exactly. That would be crazy. No one would do something like that.
German bear porn.
But yeah, so he's like, look, I don't, he's like, I don't shit while I eat. So it's, there's no weaponry or anything on the Bettendorf to speak of. Nothing illegal. You got to keep in mind the Calgary system is in large part, it's a very bifurcated system. On one hand, you have what's called the quiet belt, the outer tier. Imagine a star system where you have a sun in the middle, and you have an inner core of 2 to 3 planets, including one big gas giant. Then you have a really significant space, and then you have an outer belt, in this case called the quiet belt, made up primarily of a single gas giant, which is overwhelmingly used for fuel, and then a really sort of massively dispersed asteroid belt. Which is sufficiently far away from the inner core that scan technology from the inner core cannot reach that point. So that's sort of the design. I mean, this system, the way this system is set up, the quiet belt is a very sort of private area. It's got a gas giant on there, so that is like has its own fuel refinery. So it's a very sort of private area where people don't have to deal with it. The inner core, however, is very militarized, right? So the inner core is where your friend Chopper works, that you got out. So there's a fair amount of Terran naval vessels. The stations there are all military based, although there's a pretty significant civilian contingent of, Terran citizens, alien citizens, so fonts of all kinds. It's overwhelmingly governed by military jurisdiction because of the proximity of this system of L674 to to the Affront Kazinti no man's land. Here, let me show you real quick. So you can see, so you can see here's the Affront worlds are right here.
Mhm.
And then the Kazinti worlds are right here. That green box there, that's Calgary. That's where you guys are. So very close to the sort of edge of the Affront Kazinti war, which is why there is a significant Terran military presence here. Just try to help govern this thing. They don't want this. The thing that the Terrans absolutely do not want to happen is the Affront Kazinti war spread any farther than it already has. And two, guys like Palmer, who deal in weaponry, unlicensed weaponry, also like to be close to the war zone because that's where their customers are. Right? So if Palmer's primary business is selling shipboard and military and personal military weaponry in a war zone, he's going to want to be proxemic to those places so that he can do business. That's where you are. But it also is saying, so what you could do is, since there's a lot of military presence in this system, a fusion reactor explosion, far away as it might be from the inner core, is not likely to go unnoticed, either not necessarily by people scanning the quiet belt, but by Palmer's neighbors, and they're probably going to phone it in.
All right, so we should do that.
Okay, so what do you tell Jin to do?
You go ahead and contact him and let him know we have an imminent bang coming.
Okay. All right. So Jin says, I will do that. I'll let you know of the response.
Okay. Thank you.
So in the meantime, so at this point, I need Dr. Wagner to roll a medical check, and I need Weber to roll a constitution check.
Okay.
Or an endurance check.
Okay. What do I have to roll? I have to find my endurance real quick, right?
2d6 plus your medical bonus, Andrew.
Oh, I do 2d6 plus med?
Yep.
Okay. 12.
Nice. Okay. All right. What about the endurance roll or the constitution roll for Weber?
I'm just looking right here. So 6 strength, 8 dex, 7 endurance. So
Yeah.
I need to roll what?
So you need to roll 2d6. With a 7, you do not get a bonus. Actually, you get a -1.
What?
Yeah, because 7 is because 8 is the primary.
Bastard. What did I
All
roll?
right, so 7. All right, so Wagner comes out of med lab and says, "Well, he's still alive." The surgery was
carved out all his organs, but he's still alive.
He goes, the surgery was invasive. I had to remove all of the toxin. I had to remove the necrotized tissue, and then I had to reapply tissue grafts to begin regrowing the necrotized tissue. Then I had to clean up everything, sew it all back up, and give him a broad spectrum of drugs, antibiotics, and antivirals. And he's resting.
Had to use the tip of his penis for his nose.
And he's resting comfortably. But even Dr. Wagner's like, he's not the strongest dude on earth. I've done the job is pretty good. He's gonna live. I don't know how long it's gonna take for him to recover.
So what you're saying is that we should start rolling up a new character.
Not necessarily. He's still alive. Dr. Wagner, roll another 12d6.
With
or
my
2d6.
tiny body thistle, I'm apparently the shock troops of this crew.
I am a licensed.
Roll 12d6.
15.
15. All right. You figure you figured this. You got to keep him under for a week and a half, just so he can regrow that stuff. Then you're going to have to bring him out of consciousness, see how he's doing, and see if he's feeling any pain or anything like that. Right now he's out and his lace is off, is disengaged from Jin, so he's resting comfortably. But week and a half probably before you can bring him out.
So do I get to be a smartass AI or anything while I'm waiting?
Well, I mean, week and a half of this thing could go pretty quickly. So
That's true.
Yeah, no kidding.
I mean, so all right. So
I was going to say, just out of curiosity, Weber's out, but I would have speculated that possibly the Gin Tonic could it push this asteroid out of its orbit into a orbit that's more safe for the rest of the summer homes, either by tugboat pushing it or creating some sort of blast to the outside that pushes it out of its orbit. Just a thought.
Well, you don't have any external weapons. So blasting it hard enough to move an asteroid out of orbit. Plus it's a big asteroid. It's a big iron nickel asteroid. I guess you could try to push it, but it would also require taking the Gin and Tonic and pressing it up against the asteroid and firing the engines.
Yeah, not in favor of that. I don't know anybody who owns these summer homes, so.
Well, Jim will report back that he's contacted traffic control. They are sending out two vessels. One is a containment team to deploy, and basically they're going to deploy a containment net around it. Depending on the thing, they advised Jin to keep monitoring the fusion reactor and let them know of any changes. So basically, he's planted the drone there, and he's fed the feed that's coming from the drone to the containment ship. They're also sending out a team to come and visit the Gin and Tonic to ask him some questions as to how this happened. They want to get to the bottom of. They want to find out what happened. Why there's
so again, I will ask Palmer if he wants to be here for that.
Well, Palmer's he's like, well, they're probably going to want to talk to me. He's like, I'm the registered owner of this craft.
I would agree.
And he looks at you guys. He's like, look, you guys did me a huge favor. I'm happy to talk with these guys and keep you guys out of it. They're probably. He looks at Captain, and he says, they're probably going to want to talk to you and ask you, why you were here. You were visiting, that kind of thing. Weber and I are old friends, but yeah, I can handle the questions. They may want to ask you a few questions, but I don't foresee any problems.
All right, then I'm good too.
All right, so they are on the way. They should be here in 12 to 16 hours. They have to steam out. They can't jump through, so they are on the way. Jin would also say, "Hey, look, I'm using part of my processing power to assist Dr. Wagner, I was using it to assist Dr. Wagner with the autodoc for Weber's surgery." But the creature that you guys did the necropsy on is still in med lab, and he goes, and I've been monitoring that. There's a limited amount of scanning that I can do on the creature without bringing to bear some other drone technology, so we may want to consider that later. But it's still giving. Remember what I told you when you guys first encountered it, that it was giving off something that looked very like like it's emanating like a jump drive signal. It's still doing that.
Glad I'm right next to it.
Yeah.
Well, and he's like, look, he goes, here's the thing about jump drives. He says, when a ship passes from, yeah, exactly, Matt's like, he's just laying there. When a ship passes from real space to jump space, there is essentially a little bit of jump space bleed off, essentially a little bit of Hawking radiation, a neutrino burst that happens when that takes place. It's very quick, usually lasts for a few milliseconds as the vessel passes from real space into jump space. It happens again when it passes from jump space into real space. There's a little bit of bleed off of this. It's primarily like Hawking energy. It creates a little bit of a neutrino emission. It's primarily harmless considering the shielding that we have on our ships. This creature, however, is like if the passage into jump space is sort of like this temporal event, what this creature is doing is it's almost like it's passing in and out of jump space, and it's radiating that Hawking radiation that's coming out, this sort of Hawking-like radiation, and it's sort of like folding in on itself, and it's creating neutrinos and destroying neutrinos at the same time. And it's sort of like it's a weird sort of creation destruction of subatomic particles that's taking place. It would be like, what it looks like to him is as if a very, very small ship got stuck in between real space and jump space and couldn't enter or reverse into either completely.
Here's our AI.
But it can't do that. That's impossible.
It's impossible, yeah.
It's
And he's like, obviously that's not what's happening with this. This is a creature. It's obviously
Dennis Quaid did it.
But the signals that it's giving off, the neutrino emissions and things that it's giving off, at least from my basic scans, that's what it looks like.
All right. Mysterious. And I would ask Palmer, obviously, if he knows anything about these kind of creatures, since it was found on his ship.
He's like, I've never seen that thing before in my life. He goes, I don't know where it came from.
Maybe the bad guys brought it with, or maybe they somehow caused it to come into existence. Do you know anybody that hates you and that might use creatures like this? Or biology stuff?
Use it for what? They brought claymores. They shot my asteroid with a rail gun. Why leave a octopus creature in a closet?
Maybe to take care of anybody who might come to try to rescue you, like us.
I got to be honest with you. I don't know. I can't imagine. He's like, look, I'm in the weapons sales business, primarily, among other things. But that's my primary line of business, and it's not a business in which everybody is always, you don't deal with the nicest of people. Sometimes I deal a lot with affronters, and they are not very nice people. I also deal with Kazinti. I sell weapons to Kazinti, also not very nice. But I can't think of anyone that I've given cause for them to come out of the war zone with some sort of cloaked ship mounted with rail guns and shoot my asteroid, kill my men, and plant jump creatures on my ship. I just can't imagine anyone would do that. He goes, I will tell you something though. He goes, the Fronters and the Kazinti, he goes, I sell them both weapons, and I'm familiar with their weapons technologies, and they are drone users. If they were going to shoot up my, asteroid, you can bet that your AI would have detected some sort of explosive residue. In this case, railguns, there's not many as out there that use railguns. It's a technology that that is hard to power, and it's unwieldy on a ship-based railgun. But you know who do use them? The Bears use them. The USA use them on their warships.
Okay.
Or after their porn.
But I've done nothing to the USA or anything like that. I don't even have any business with them.
All right, thank you.
He's as confused. I mean, he genuinely seems confused about who would do this to him.
And where did we left that creature on the ship?
No, you brought it with you to the Gin and Tonic. Dr. Wagner performed a necropsy on it. The results of that necropsy were this.
And then he sat it on the table right next to my recovering body.
Dr. Wagner performed a necropsy on the squid creature, which took a couple of hours. The results were very curious. Essentially, the creature was comprised of a somewhat viscous but otherwise undifferentiated material. No organs, no nerves, no sensory apparatus that he could detect. Like what you find if you cut into a Stretch Armstrong. And by the way, I have to thank Andrew for that analogy. That was brilliant and perfect. Dr. Wagner, Dr. Wagner says this creature shouldn't be alive. Even the stinger organ ought not to have worked. The stinger itself was relatively normal, as well as there was the physical reservoir for the venom or toxin that the stinger was designed to deliver, but everything around it, which would normally surround a stinger mechanism on a creature, the nerves, the controlling organ structures, the musculature, that didn't exist. It was just this undifferentiated, semi-solid tofu-like goop. It shouldn't, as far as the creatures, it shouldn't be alive. Now, you still have that reservoir that contains the toxin. You could probably do some sort of chemical analyses on it, but because it was, it It exhibited some very interesting properties. One, it basically chewed through the abdominal wall and started eating Weber's organs. That's one. That's a fun fact. Two, it did so without triggering the biological monitoring systems in his neural lace or any sort of pain. When Weber came in to have his wound looked at, he had just been drinking scotch with Palmer convivially. And Wagner will tell you the amount of damage to his guts would have had him, had he been conscious, it would have probably rendered him unconscious with pain. But if he was conscious, he would have been screaming bloody murder from the pain that he should have been suffering because of this. But from his point of view, there was no pain.
Can't we just hypothesize that Weber Jiix is a manly man?
He could be. He was just holding it in for later. He didn't want to look like a wuss.
Yeah. Just a flesh wound.
It's just a flesh wound. I'll walk it off, just like Coach used to tell me to do.
Rub some dirt in.
Rub some dirt on it.
Put a little tussin on there. So very strange. But that was the results of the necropsy. Now that the creature's not laying on a table next to Weber. It's in a small cryo
Containment locker.
A containment locker.
Okay.
It was definitely not moving around. It's not but from Wagner's standpoint, it's like this creature should never have been moving around. It's not a creature. It's a non-creature.
All right, got it.
It's a Stretch Armstrong with a stinger.
It's an ambrosia jello mold.
Exactly. It shouldn't be moving.
All right, so we need to sit and wait for the cops to show up and chat with them.
All right, takes several hours as they're going up, but ultimately you do. Gin does alert you and says, "Hey, look, we've got a military ship that's posted up about 100,000 kilometers away, which is basically next door from a spatial standpoint. They're sending a shuttle over with a couple of dudes. In the meantime, you can and Gin will put it on screen. You see what is a large military, what Gin refers to as a containment ship, is moving towards the asteroid. Essentially, it's dragging what looks to be probably 100 to 200 kilometer long net bag behind it. So the ship is huge. You Captain Black, you estimated it as being in probably the 25,000 ton range.
Okay.
With big engines, and it is with a big fusion reactor, and it basically dragging this big bag essentially behind it. And what it does is you can see drones kind of like pop off the sides of it, and it begins opening up and deploying what is essentially a big titanium net around Palmer's asteroid. And the things are doing that. So, and Gin will tell you that it is in constant conversation with the AI on the ship, keeping an eye on the reactor. Palmer is like, hey, am I going to have an opportunity to look, to go on my bridge and check something out with your drone before they wrap this up? I need to see what's going on. Essentially, they're wrapping up the asteroid with a giant titanium net.
With the droid, they should be able to. Now, will we be able to control the droid once the net is completed?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't exhibit Faraday cage stuff. You'll be able to control it.
So yeah, he can control it into the bridge and everything.
Okay. So that's what they're doing. But about that time, you get Gin says we've had a request to come aboard from Calgary Station Military Command. Essentially, they would like to dock with us. Their shuttle would.
Say they are welcome, and please bring a bottle of scotch.
I go to my quarters.
Okay. So they dock and they disembark, and it's very formal. They're essentially, they're in military uniforms, Terran Navy uniforms, which Captain Black, you recognize, because it used to be your field after all. And they come up and they're asking, can we speak to Palmer? And he's like, it's me, come on in. And you guys come up to the thing. Essentially, they ask him a lot of questions about what happened. And in large part, he tells them the exact same story that he told you guys. He leaves out the part about I deal in illegal weapons to the people that you're trying to contain. He sort of glosses over that part. But essentially the story that he says is, look, hey, we were there, my AI went off, suddenly we were impacted, that kind of thing, and my guy stuck me in my safe room. We went, these guys came and got me, and they essentially saved my life. My good friend Weber got sick. He's in that kind of thing. But he led them here, and essentially I owe these men my life. That kind of stuff. And so like, okay, they ask him a few, like cops. They ask him like a few repeated questions to see if the story varies in any way. But basically, he tells them that same thing. Then they come to you, Captain Black. They basically say, Captain, you're the captain of this vessel. What was your last port of call before you arrived in Calgary system?
I don't remember the name of it.
Greenpert.
Yeah, Greenpert. Thank you.
Greenpert. Okay. And you're a long-haul trade vessel. Yes, yes. Did you or your AI see any other ships in the vicinity of the Bettendorf when you arrived in the system?
Not that we noticed, but I'd ask the AI to confirm that separately.
Gin confirms. He's like, we did not detect any vessels near the Bettendorf. The closest vessel was several million kilometers away.
Yeah, so we saw nothing.
Okay. Did you see any people or sophons on the ship that were not that you recognize as not being the normal crew complement?
No, just the dead crew. Everybody else seemed to have scattered.
Did you see any weapons or anything like that on the Bettendorf that seemed anomalous or didn't belong?
No, but we saw damage from weapons that seemed anomalous.
And he's like, can you describe that damage?
I'll let him know about the railgun damage and about the burn marks near the where they tore out the AI, as well as the nuclear reactor area.
Okay, and it's your opinion and the opinion of your AI that that the reactor was both lased and subject to military grade explosives.
Yeah, it was clear they wanted to make sure there was nothing left of this place.
And you could hear the one guy, the guy who's writing things down, sort of shake his head and go, saying to himself, "That is a very stupid thing to do." Can you describe any notable damage to the ship's interior? You mentioned scorch marks. Was it your impression that a fight had taken place, that there were, or that these were that the scorch marks were all from the attacking force?
It looked like there were some scorch marks from the initial attack, but to be honest with you, based on my experience, that fight looked like it did not last very long.
They'll ask Palmer. It says, Palmer, do you or any of your men have access to or were employed with laser weapons? Because as you know, Mr. Palmer, laser weapons are not allowed without registration in Calgary system, without being registered with the authorities. And Palmer's like, no, my men is projectile men completely. No lasers on my guys. And these are shipboard weapons. They never come off ship. You know me. I would never do such a thing. And that kind of stuff. Did you see any other damage to the interior outside of the scorch marks and the damage to the AI and the damage to the reactor?
Well, to be honest, there was some additional damage after we got on board because they had booby-trapped the station. So we set off a claymore in the first room before we understood what was going on. After that, we managed to avoid any further damage.
Claymores, you say? Can you describe these explosive devices? And basically, you give them like a description.
They look like this, and they blow up.
Yeah, he's like, make a note of that. He's talking to the other guy. Can you think of anything else that you saw, noticed, or observed that you feel might be salient to?
No, I'd say the biggest thing that was weird about it was the AI.
Yes, that is atypical and frankly significantly illegal. We would be very interested to learn more about this. And he goes back to Palmer. He's like, Palmer, can you think of anyone who might be interested in harming you or your station for any reason, perhaps related to business or personal enemies of any kind? And Palmer's like, I can't imagine. I have no enemies to speak of. I just simply do not know what could do it. And there's a bit of histrionics, and if Weber were there, he'd be like, but
nothing but charity work. Nothing but charitable work.
Yeah, exactly. It's a little bit like that, and but they seem to take him seriously, and they're like, did you guys observe anything else other than that you think would be salient to us?
No.
Okay.
Pretty much help.
All right. Well, they thank you for your cooperation, and they decline your generous offer of scotch and return to their ships and forthwith. At this point, you could probably use they've got it probably 3/4 contained with the titanium net. If you wanted to and they have their own drones on site to monitor the thing. So if you wanted to use your drone or begin bringing it back, you could do that. Palmer says, I need to take a look at a couple of things, and then you can bring it back. So let me work with Gin.
Okay, go for it.
All right. So if you guys want to watch the monitor, basically he sends the drone forward into the bridge area, and so he looks at the bridge, and there are scorch marks there. There's another body down there. There's another claymore down there. So you guys were pretty smart to not necessarily go down there. But you do see there's a small room off the bridge, which is it has a keypad lock, which is kind of hard. Basically, Palmer and Gin go back and forth, and essentially they're able to bonk it open by hitting, having the drone sort of bump into the keypad, because the drone doesn't have any manipulators, so it's basically a floating camera. So they're basically bumping the drone into the keypad to get it open. But it opens up, and it's essentially a small vault. It does not seem to have been breached in any way, but once the door open, you hear Palmer say, "Son of a bitch!" And you look in, and it looks like, it's a small room, like probably the size of 3 bookshelves, like stand-up bookshelves deep. It's a closet. It's a very small closet, but it has shelves and various things, and there's various kinds of just stuff, and there's paperwork. You see a small stack of what is obviously cash, different denominations, different kinds of cash, banknotes and stuff like that stacked on there. There's a couple little satchels, but most of this stuff has been sort of like tossed roughly onto the ground. And you see Palmer's like ordering Jim. He's like, move the camera down over there to the left. No, my left. That kind of thing. And eventually you hear him say it again. Son of a bitch. The library. They took the library. And you could see him kind of like looking around. He's like, why the fuck would they do that? And he's like, he goes, I don't understand anything that's going on here. This makes no sense at all. They took the library. That makes no sense.
What was in your library?
What? Oh, Captain, I'm sorry. Not my library. The Steiner library. It was a set of books that I was attempting to sell. So let me explain. In addition, so I mentioned earlier that weapons and weapon systems are my primary avocation, but it's not my sole avocation. I also I have a small clientele who are interested in rarities, for example. So the Steiner library, I have to start at the beginning. This kind of starts a couple of months ago. You know that in addition to weaponry and various things, I also dabble in artifacts and collectibles for a client. There's a market, there's a market for it, and it can be quite lucrative, and I have very good connections, and so I have a small side business dealing with this. Typically alien artifacts, archaeological items, things like that. It's a guy based out of called Obrigado Steiner, and he was a collector, and he specialized in ancient alien artifacts, or various kinds of, not necessarily ancient, but alien artifacts that related to the paranormal, supernatural things, various kinds of cultural and mythological things. He did this. And so he had amassed a pretty significant collection. It was known for people in this that collect these things. The Steiner collection was known to be one of the greatest collections of this kind of material in the Salamini cluster. So he died so this Abbragato Steiner guy, he died. I didn't know him, but he died about 6 months ago. I had cause to make the acquaintance of his son several years ago in the pursuance of other business. It's a long story. I'm not going to go into it here. But anyway, the son, Abbragato Steiner's son, knows the kind of work that I do. And he called me up to help him dispose of his father's collection in a way that made sense and would net him the maximum amount of credits. I did a fair amount of that, but frankly, the Steiner library was the piece of the collection. It was gonna be the most expensive piece, but it was also going to be the hardest to place because it has a very strange kind of legacy is the wrong word, sort of provenance. It has a very strange provenance. So basically, the Steiner Library was a series of like 13 books. Essentially, and I don't go into all this stuff, but these books were essentially written according to all of the dating schedules, at least according to rumor. Nobody had really examined these books for a couple of decades, but the idea was that they were a couple of thousand years old. They were found on some planet out in BFE somewhere. Nobody really knows. But the thing of it is that they were written in multiple alien languages, including Terran, or an archaic version of Terran. And the provenance was the idea that these books had no business being written in these languages. Think Rosetta Stone, the Rosetta Stone, but if it had been crafted on the moon. Right? There's no reason that moon people would know these languages to be able to craft a Rosetta Stone. Anyway, the Steiner Library goes into various kinds of things. I don't know. I'd be hard-pressed to summarize it for you. I was just trying to sell it. But it basically deals with various paranormal kind of things, creatures, that exist in various things.
Did you happen to read it before?
No. I didn't read any of it. I was just trying to sell it.
2 days.
Now I'd had he goes, oh shit, I didn't even think of this. I had a query on the Steiner Library maybe 3 weeks ago out of Kukulkan. It was the query came out of Greenpoint where you guys were. It was obviously somebody was fronting for somebody else, and they had asked me about the availability of it, and they had asked me if it would be possible for them to view the library to ascertain legitimacy. It's a lot, frankly, it was a lot of credits that we were talking about. So I said, yeah. In fact, I invited them. Oh, shoot. I invited them here.
I think we just discovered why you got attacked, didn't we?
I invited them here to come view the thing. This is like 3 weeks ago. I hadn't heard from them ever since. I forgot about it.
So this is cheaper, taking it.
Cheaper to take it. And you don't have to admit that you're now the owner of it.
They railgunned my house so that they could take this stupid thing. It wasn't worth that much. I was hoping to maybe net 12 to 15 mega credits off of this thing.
But it must have
been. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money, but it's not deploy railgun mounted ships money to destroy an asteroid money.
There might have been something in those books that made it worth that much, but we can't tell because you didn't read it. You didn't scan it either, right? So you don't have content.
No, other than preliminary scans to make sure that they weren't going to blow up.
Sounds like we need Space Nicolas Cage here to help.
Absolutely, this is a Dan Brown going on.
If this was about the library, I mean, he's like, look, and he points at the drawing. He says, "There's a stack of cash right there. There's probably a mega credit and a half of cash sitting there on the shelf, now on the halfway on the floor, that they just left there. There's other things." He goes, "That thing there, that's probably worth half a mega credit. Look at that stupid thing over there, that statue. That's worth 250 key credits." They
Somebody's
left.
been doing some home shopping online, huh?
They left. Yeah. He goes, I get drunk. I go on Space eBay. He goes, I shouldn't do that. But yeah, he's like, they left. They only took, as far as I can tell, and he's like moving the drone around and that kind of stuff. It's like, they only took the Steiner library.
How many volumes are in it, and how big is each volume?
13 books. The books themselves are of different sizes. Maybe 6 to 8 centimeters thick each book. They're big books, and they're written in various sort of vegetable pigments and
So
various.
it's kind of like a set of encyclopedias.
Yeah, a little bit. They're different sizes. They're not uniform, but
Different thicknesses, but yeah.
Yeah.
It was bear porn, wasn't it?
That's your guys' business, not mine.
Not everything can be bear porn.
Pays well.
We've got a partial solve to the mystery here. What can you tell us about the call you received? They said they were from Greenpoint. Did they say anything or reveal anything?
So regular old subspace came from Greenpoint. It was Terran, man, dressed well.
You haven't recorded, did you?
Yeah, I did. You know where my recordings are stored? On my AI.
Yeah. Which also explains why that happened.
Shoot. But he's flummoxed. He's like it doesn't make any sense. It would have been easier for them just to pay me rather than send a bunch of ships out here and railgun my asteroid, kill my guys.
You would know who they are. They obviously wanted to grid.
And there'd be a record of them having this. So
Absolutely.
there might be some information in it that they think is very valuable.
Well, I tell you what, I remember the guy. I can get you a description, a drawing. If you let me work with your AI, I can get you a drawing of this guy.
Well, let's get started on that.
All right.
A space charcoal drawing.
Yeah, exactly.
No, his ears were definitely bigger.
Hey, Les, when I hear the name Steiner, I think House Steiner from BattleTech. Anybody remember BattleTech Inner Sphere?
I do not.
House Steiner is the German version of the robot houses. House Steiner, House Davian, House Pegasus, or whatever the hell they are. Anyway, never mind. I'll just go back to it. I'm lying here on this table.
He's in a coma. He's turned into the kid from St. Elsewhere. So that's all he knows. But he's gonna work with Gin to try and put together a description of it. He was like, wait a second though. Why would the Ursay care about the Steiner Library? That doesn't make any sense. And why would they front some Terran from Greenpoint to he's like, none of this makes any sense. He goes, I'm sorry. He goes, I'm raving here. I'm still upset about my guys and Jackie. And to learn that it has something to do with this stupid artifact that I was hoping to maybe make a couple of mega credits off of.
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it depends on what's inside of it.
Well, I didn't read the damn things. I don't know. It's all alien bullshit, man. I just sell them. I just sell it.
It was like
All
first
right, get us that
edition.
description.
All right.
We'll go find them.
All right. So they get the whole thing wrapped up, and you do guys manage to get your drone out before they entirely wrap the Bettendorf. So the drone is now taking its sweet time trucking across a couple of 100,000 kilometers of interplanetary space to try and get back to the thing. It's going to take probably a day and a half for that drone to get all the way back to the Gin
It's
Tonic.
making that Jetsons sound.
Yeah. Yeah, it's trucking over there. In the meantime, Gin says, I've just got an alert from the containment team that says they expect the fusion reactor to the containment to breach within about a minute to a minute and a half. It's outgassing. The containment bottle is outgassing inert gases, and it's getting ready to blow. So Palmer's like, put it on screen, would you, Gin? And so in the big vid screen in the main room, he puts on the cameras, and you can see essentially there's the Bettendorf, and it's surrounded by this big, sort of silvery bag, which is not necessarily clasped. I mean, it's not wrapped up, but it's like cinched a little bit at the end, so the tube is a little bit thing. And then you could see in the distance, pretty far away, actually, probably 500,000 kilometers away, is that big ship. They had basically detached the bag once they got it deployed. Silently, you guys are watching, and you're like, about the time you think, this is bullshit, nothing's going to happen, all of a sudden you see that bag sort of like explodes outward into a sphere. And so it basically becomes a perfect sphere. And you can see that it's like stretching, and then you see the little area where it would cinch up. There's like this big jet of gas that goes shooting out, and you can see the bag start to move forward, like in the opposite direction. It doesn't last very long, maybe 4 or 5 seconds, and then the jet of gas stops. And Jin says, I just received word from the containment team that the reactor has, the fusion reactor has exploded. Damage is catastrophic. They are going to take that bag, and they are going to dump it on the gas giant out here, and then they're going to head back. They wanted to tell us that they appreciate us letting them know to avoid any space junk issues.
Okay.
And off they go.
So, question for Palmer.
Mm-hmm.
Are you looking for us to take you someplace and drop you off? Where's your new home?
Well, he goes, my resources are Bank of Terra, so I can do that anywhere. If this guy, he's like, look, I'm a guest on your ship right now, so where you're going is where I'm going. But I can deploy resources from any major systems. So if you have to go to, if you were on the way to somewhere, I can go with you.
All right. Then
I'd personally like to see what I can find out on my own, or with your help, to see if I can find out any more about why I was attacked, and if it is indeed about this library.
Then I'll ask him to kind of hang out in the crew area, and I'm going to have a private conversation with my team on the bridge.
Understand completely. And he pours himself another scotch, leans back, and just sort of pulls out his data pad and begins looking at it.
So, guys, we got 3 directions we can go in now. We could head back to what the original port we came at and return the cryogenic kit.
Scientist.
Yeah. Or we could go to Greenpoint and start working on this mystery. Or we could go to visit my friend Chopper and wake up the person in cryo and find out more about their situation.
Where's Chopper at?
He's here in Calgary system. He's he works in the Navy shipyards as a cryo specialist. He's not in the Navy, but like a lot of military personnel who develop specialty skills when they're in the military, they often leave the military and immediately get jobs for the military.
Consulting.
Doing exactly the same thing that they were doing when they were in the military. And that's pretty much what happened to Chopper.
I vote Chopper.
All right.
So
I'll let Palmer know. We just need to be patient for a little while. We got to go talk to another friend in this system.
Okay.
To any major ports.
All right.
Well, that's all it took was my vote.
Yeah, I guess.
Oh, sorry. You're right. Anybody else have a vote?
It's a 1-vote win.
Well, Weber Jiix can't vote. But Andrew, do you want to vote? You're the only other one here.
I abstain. I
Abstain.
I was so
He votes present.
Present, yeah.
present. I lost track. I abstain.
Okay.
Present.
Present.
That's how they do it in the Senate and in the House.
Oh, okay, present.
And in the garage. All right, so
What am I voting on?
They do that in the House and Senate also.
So I fit right in.
We have 3 choices of where we can go. We can head back to the original port where we picked up the cryogenic person who's frozen and return them back there. We can go back to Greenpoint and start on this whole mystery with Palmer, or we can visit my friend Chopper, who's in this system we're already in, who will be able to help us actually defrost the person, and we can find out more about their situation before we decide.
And I say C,
or
then
defrost.
B, and then A.
Yeah. And we're in A.
Well, I mean, yeah, choice 3 sounds good because it's right there, but I'm all for the mystery. Because we're driving around in the mystery machine, otherwise known as the Gin and Tonic.
Joints.
Jinkers.
They're one for you last
Jinkers.
kids.
Ruh-roh.
Ruh-roh.
All right, so you're going to go see Chopper?
Zoinks.
Yes, let's go see Chopper.
All right, so you have not notified, you haven't reached out to Chopper and told them that you are in.
It's best to surprise them.
you haven't told them that you're in systems. So
Let's do that.
You got to do some subspace through Gin. What are you gonna say?
This is Gin. Hey, buddy, got a fun situation I need your help with. Any chance you got a little availability?
So at this point, you need to roll a. Hold on a second. You need to roll a check. Yeah, a social check to see, because the thing about I know a guy is you don't know what the guy's reaction is going to be until you get there. So it's like the Lando Calrissian thing, right? He's like, I know a guy. I don't, you know,
Hey, arrest him.
It wasn't maybe the best departure. So so hold on, I got to get the books out.
Well, this isn't going to end well, guys.
So
it's up to you, unless you remember what my character's social
I
is.
thought he owed you a favor.
Okay. So what's your what is your character social?
3.
3. That would be a -5 on the roll. Maybe not social.
Yeah, I was going to say, remember, there's a reason for that wouldn't include Chopper.
Right, that wouldn't necessarily be to Chopper. So
Can I talk to him?
yeah, anybody but me.
I'll take care of this. All right, so in this case, maybe I think what's your education roll? The next one up.
Education one up is
Captain has a social of 3. How did he get made a captain?
It's complicated.
okay. That's 8.
Education. 8. All right, so let's use that one. So that's
I'm assuming it was higher and it went down to 3 as he was a captain.
It's
there's a reason I'm not in the Navy anymore.
Right. So just roll a 2d6. An 8 would be no pluses or anything. So go ahead and just roll it straight up 2d6.
All right.
10. Okay. You get it's a while, and you're starting to worry that you send this thing out and say, "Hey, I'm in town. I'd love to get together," and that kind of thing. And what's happening? And it's a long time before the response. Not entirely sure what's going on. Like 20 minutes long before you get a response. But you get a response, and it's essentially like, "Black, I'm surprised you're in Calgary. I got some time later this afternoon. Go ahead and steam in." And he gives you coordinates for Calgary Station. He's like, "I'll arrange for a dock. We'll meet and we'll get a drink."
You keep saying he. I thought.
Sorry. They.
They. Well, now we've heard the voice. Everybody would have heard it's a she.
Well, it's not a voice. It was a text. It was basically a text.
Okay. Sorry.
It's my voice.
All right. Then let's head over.
All right. So it takes you 7 or 8 hours to fusion over to the inner core. Jin is like, "Look, I gotta talk to all these guys. I'm getting pinged by probably a couple of dozen different military vessels. I have to essentially I have to establish my bona fides with those guys, so I'm sort of off in the thing. But I can drive. And it's pretty soon. You guys feel the ship sort of angling towards the station. It's a I don't have it. It's a good looking station here. Let me put it on a thing for you real quick so you guys can see what it looks like. One moment, please.
Sweet.
Here we go.
Oh, don't see it.
I'm not there yet.
Oh, still on.
I was fooled by the there you go.
Oh, I was just talking to myself.
Oh,
All right.
good. You see it.
Yeah, I see it. It's there. Hold on, we got to stop at the Bettendorf. We got too many things here. Here we go. All right, can you see that?
It's black.
All right, hold on.
See nothing.
The thing about space is it's black.
There it is.
You see it now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so that's Calgary Station. It is primarily a military station, and you can see there is a lot of ships sort of hovering about, various kinds of things on various errands. Familiar territory to you, Captain Black. You have been to Calgary Station before when you were in the Navy, albeit only briefly, but you still recognize it. Still looks the same. You guys eventually dock and are able to exit the ship, and you are met standing there. Captain, you immediately recognize her as Chopper. The rest of you guys see her for the first time. Chopper is a heavily augmented human. You can see that the bottom portion of her legs have been replaced. Various other aspects, arms and stuff like that. She is more cybernetic than human, but she at first she stares at Captain Black, and Black's like, "How you doing, Chopper?" And she finally comes over and stands in front of him, and you think for a moment that she might stab him, and then she says, she kind of reaches up and sort of smacks him across slaps his face. He's like, "Never expected you to come here. Good to see you, Black. Come with us. These your friends?"
Yeah, this is my new crew.
Oh, welcome. What's a ship called? Looks like a piece of shit.
Gin Tonic. Did you replace some more pieces? There's nothing human left on you, is there?
I'm always working on the pieces. You know that. So
as always, for the great work you did on my arm, of course.
You're welcome. You want me to sharpen it up a little bit for you while we're here? Could probably put something
tune up.
I'll take a look at it before you leave. So I gotta be honest with you, I'm very intrigued by the fact that out of the blue, after what's it been, 3 years, you start showing up at Calgary Station wanting to talk to me. So I'm assuming whatever it is you want to talk to me about, you don't want to do it here on the middle of space dock on a military station. Is that more or less correct?
Of course it is.
So why don't we go get a drink and talk about it? Your friend's gonna come?
That's up to them. You guys want to come with? Or,
yes.
Okay, come on by.
All right, so a little grav tram comes by, and she beckons you guys to hop in, and off it turns down through the station. You pass a lot of soldiers going to and fro. A lot of places. I mean, initially there's a lot of places that are. I mean, it's obviously very industrious from a ship standpoint. Like any space dock, there's going to be a lot of people servicing the ships. Fuel tenders, various kinds of things. You get out of that pretty quickly, though, and into a region that really sort of. It's obvious that it caters to soldiers' recreation, for lack of a better term. You pass by a few places, but Chopper sort of stops the grav tram in front of a little seedy looking place called the Getabout. And she's like, we'll be good in here. We could talk in here. And so she rolls in. It's very small and weirdly shaped place. It's actually quite thin, maybe only 4 meters wide, but it probably goes back into the station 40 to 50 meters. It goes way back there. So it's a very long, thin place. 2 lines of stools for about 10 meters, one at the bar, one against the back wall. You kind of have to walk past them. She leads you back there, and you see her wave to somebody at the bar. And she said, I come to this place quite a bit. It's private, and not a lot of soldiers come here, which is nice. I'm sick of soldiers. And she finds a booth sort of about 30 meters deep into this place, and gestures for everybody to sit down. She waves at the sort of she does a snap at the bartender, and overcomes a little flying drone that comes to her, and she's like, two bottles of make that 3 bottles of and she names some sort of wine, and however many glasses of people that came with us, and hurry it up. And the drone just kind of like blinks a green light at her and goes off to go get your drinks. And she's like, all right, sit down. Pretty soon the drinks come, bottles of wine. She everybody sort of pours their own. And she's like, all right, what's up? You didn't come here to visit with me. I know that. Even though I'm really good looking, I have a feeling that I'm not your type.
It's a bonus to come see you, as it always is.
Still the sweet talker.
Just made me think of you, that's all.
Even if I had the parts, I wouldn't share them with you.
So, wait, she doesn't have the parts anymore?
I've got my new ship. We're just trying to keep ourselves busy. And we managed to accidentally, let's say, pick up cargo that is a bit sensitive. And we need to make a determination what to do about it. Thing is, what's inside this cargo is frozen solid. We need a way to kind of defrost it.
She leans back. She's like, you got a person in a cryo container, don't you?
Well, very well might be.
And you want me to peel him out of there? I can do that. It's in it for me.
What do you
want? Well, money's always good.
Well, why don't you come take a look and then tell me what you think it's going to cost once you see the device in question.
I can do that. All right, let's take a look.
All right.
All right, so you guys finish your drinks, and she follows you back to you take the grab tram back to the Gin and Tonic. Down in the hold where the thing is. She goes down there, accompanied by you guys. She takes a look at it, and then it's funny. She's kind of joshing around with you, Black, and that kind of stuff. But once she gets around this cryogenic chamber, she's all business. You see her; she's got a little satchel of tools that she's brought with her, and readouts and stuff like that. So immediately she's like, "Ah, yes, the Abercrombie 8000 cryo generator." And so she pops a hatch off the side of it. She's got this little tester thing that she plugs in a little USB looking port, and then there's readouts and things. Well, he's still alive. That's good. I assume you wanted to stay that way?
Yes, please.
All right, let me see what I can do. And she's like looking around. She's checking, some of the gauges on the front, and almost by habit, she taps on the glass a little bit. And she's like, "Yeah, I can bring him out. He's in good shape. Whoever, these." She sort of bonks on the thing. These cryos are pretty good manufacture. He would stay in here for another 20 years if you had the power and juice to it. How fast do you want him out? And let me preface that question by saying, look, I normally, if you're bringing somebody out of cryo, there better be some medical personnel on standby, because you never know what happens when you pull the crystals. But normally it takes about 3 days to pull them out proper. Now, you can do it quickly, but there's a bigger chance that somebody's going to get injured if you do it that way. If you need this guy out of here this afternoon, it's doable, but the likelihood is that he's going to be a little bit damaged.
I can provide the medical personnel, and 3 days is fine.
All right. 3 days, 10,000 a day. You have one live, warm body at the end of it, guaranteed. Otherwise, you keep it all.
All right. offhand, I believe we still have that kind of money available.
I'll have to pull up the thing. Hold on, I gotta pull up the chart. Or the what do we call it? The
Accounts.
accounting. Yeah, the this is such a great game. Ship's ledger. All right, hold on a second. So ship's ledger right now. You guys have cash on hand of $395.78. So yeah, 30 is not going to be a big deal.
All right, set to work. What else you need from us?
Let me poach off of your UMB manufacturer, and so for food and drink. But otherwise, I just need to be left alone.
All right.
There'll be a point. There'll be a point when I'll need your ship's doctor to come take a look at this guy once I crack the case on this thing. But that'll be in about a day and a half, 2 days probably.
All right. Just holler when you're ready.
All right, here we go. And so she starts working.
Thanks, Chop.
And there'll be times when she comes up and eats with you guys. She has some very specific recommendations or instructions for Gin when it comes to making what she eats, because it's not like food. She has a very specific sort of combination of elements and things that she asks Gin to put together for her out of the UMB, which she takes in basically a form of like this weird sort of Slurpee. But yeah, every once in a while she'll come up. At one point Palmer offers her a drink, and she's like, I can't process alcohol anymore. Thank you for the offer, though, and heads back out. She spends the bulk of the time down in the hold working on the thing. A couple of times she has to go back into the station. You guys are docked at the station the whole time, so I'm assuming you want to top off on fuel and UMB and get everything done. That, and I'll do the math. Now you did have, you do not have any, you don't have any cargo for here. And all the cargo coming out of here is military, so you guys aren't going to be able to pick anything up. But you can't get food and fuel. So I'll do the math on that and send out the ledger later. But you're not going to be able to pick up cargo out of Calgary.
Okay.
Any legal cargo?
Well, so you're talking about the inner core of Calgary. Now, if you guys are going to pick up illegal cargo, that would be out in the quiet belt, and
we could always just kidnap someone and take someone away.
Again.
It's what we do.
Hold on, I got to tweet that. Well, we could just kidnap somebody again. We just kidnap someone. But yeah, so what do you guys do in those 3 days while she's working on the thing? Anything, or just kind of like hang out?
Is there any gambling here?
Yes, actually.
I go to my stateroom.
Okay.
To avoid.
Doctor comes out.
Oh, okay.
Do you have his picture?
I will stay on the ship because I don't care to interact with the Navy peeps.
Les, do you have his picture ready?
I don't. Can you say? Wait, hold on. Let me get it. I can have it ready momentarily. Give me 2 seconds. I get 75 of these things open.
So what's your problem with Navy guys there, Captain?
Yeah, again,
Captain.
just say I didn't leave the Navy under the same terms that I entered.
Nobody ever does.
Okay. All right. So should I put the pictures next to each other?
Sure, you can.
All right. Hold on a second. Oh, stop being a poo.
I just sent you Gawker again, just in case you didn't.
I got it.
I thought you did.
Yeah, I got it. I'm all in on that.
After this, Weber Jiix will be 3 days closer to fully healed. Yay.
Yay. And there was much rejoicing. Yay.
Yay.
Why will it not let me make this picture bigger? It's pissing me off, too. I guess it doesn't have to be bigger. Hold on a second. Okay. I'll be just one moment. I know, thanks.
So you guys do know what Tam looks like.
Right. I'll put them right next to each other so you guys can get a look at it. Okay, here we go. So do you want to explain this picture?
Yeah. So Tam goes into a stateroom, and after about
that's Tam on the left.
yeah, I'm pinging him. After about 30 minutes, this guy comes out and says, in Tam's voice, "I'll see you around, gentlemen. I'm gonna go hit the tables."
All right, Denzel.
Pick 'em Hampson, don't you?
Yes, I do.
I hope you have luck.
Me too.
All right, so Tam goes out and
Gawker goes out.
Gawker goes out and does that. Sorry, I can't keep all your alter egos straight.
There's two.
That's one more than I could keep straight, frankly. All right, so ultimately, Chopper. This is late the next day, probably 36 hours after she comes on board. Chopper calls through, and Jin says, "Dr. Wagner, Miss Chopper would like to see you down in the hold. If you could go down there, please." Andrew.
Yes.
All right. Does Dr. Wagner go down? Dr. Wagner has been requested to go down in the hold.
We're unfreezing the body.
What?
We're unfreezing the body. We would like to have a doctor present when we do that.
What's in it for me?
Well, you're a member of the crew.
We forgot to ask the doctor if he would doctor.
Oh, for crying out loud. Fine. Okay.
Okay. All right. So give me a med check. Give me a medical roll, Dr. Wagner.
Another one. You doubt me again?
No, I don't, man. You are rolling absolute rocks. So, yeah. So,
maybe senile, but I'm still capable.
Wagner comes back up, and Black, you raise an eyebrow, and Wagner goes, "Well, he's alive. He's thawing. He's, and so Chopper's down there a little bit. About morning the next day, Black, you get a neural lace transmission, and it's Chopper, and basically Chopper says, "All right, come fetch your material scientist. He's alive and awake. I got him out."
How do you know he's a material scientist?
He told me. He told me.
He woke up and said, "Hello, I'm a material scientist."
I'm a material scientist.
Hello. No, he told her. So I'm assuming you go down there?
Yeah.
Basically, the containment vessel is sort of opened up like a beetle's carapace, and the sort of gurney that he was on inside has been extracted and pulled out the front, and you see this guy. He's sort of sitting on it, and he's like, "Who are you guys?"
I'm going to have to debrief you here, son, on a few things, but when I'm done, I'm also going to need to ask you a heck of a lot of questions.
All
so I
right.
go ahead and let him know about the guy we picked up and how he was just bringing this cargo along, and et cetera, and let him know what happened, and said, "Now we're being summoned back. We're pretty sure it's because you're back."
Well, yeah, I work for Spofulam Corporation. I have for about 12 years in the material sciences department. I'm I do a variety. And then he starts like blathering on about material science. Like it's okay. He's like, I guess do you have some questions for me? He's like, "Where am I?"
We're at a military base.
Oh yeah. Why? He's like, "There's no military bases in Mirabilis."
Nope, we're on our way back to Mirabilis. But the question that I have for you is, why do you think somebody was trying to kidnap you?
Kidnap? What are you talking about?
Well, I would have already debriefed him on that part, that he was kidnapped and frozen.
Okay, and frozen. He's like, I don't know. He goes, honestly, I had finished a day of work. I was back at the arcology. I was having a couple of drinks. I was talking with this woman, and I felt a sting in my neck, and then I woke up here with you guys. That's the last thing I know.
The guy that did this to you is a professional. It's what he does for a living. So somebody paid him quite a bit of money.
I honestly, I don't know why anybody would want to kidnap me. I mean, I'm pretty good at what I do, but I don't know. It's honestly, I'm flummoxed. I can't imagine why someone would want to kidnap me.
So no reason you can think of that we should be nervous about returning you to Mirabilis. That might be trouble waiting for us there.
No, Mirabilis is my home. It's where I'm from. I've worked for Spofulam Corporation in their material science department for like 12 years.
All right. Then we're going to head back and drop you off. We're just going to have to.
All right. That'd be great.
It's going to take a little while to get back there. So go ahead and make yourself comfortable while you're recovering.
All right. Well, I guess thank you for rescuing me. I didn't even realize I needed rescue, but I guess he looks back and he's like, I guess, yeah, thanks. I guess. I mean, it's just, I'm a little shocked and weirded out here. This is, I don't know what to say.
So he's a material science guy. Can we have him look at the blob?
Yeah, maybe once he's recovered, that's not a bad idea.
He sounds recovered.
What's the blob?
The monster with the stinger.
It's a need to know basis.
You have a stinger? What?
It's a
yeah,
drink.
I mean, yeah, I guess I could look at whatever you guys want me to look at. I guess. I mean, frankly, it'd be the least I could do to say thanks. And then Chopper goes, "Are we satisfied?"
Absolutely, Chop. You are a saint as always.
All right. She reaches out, punch it in. That'll be 30K.
Go ahead and pay her.
All right. So Jin is like, I have transferred 30,000 credits to Miss Chopper's account here at Calgary. She's like, if that'll be it, I guess I'll be on my way.
Yeah, I'll see you next time. Great to see you again.
Look me up next time. We'll spend some time and get a couple more drinks instead of all work.
You can't drink.
It's true. I don't want to, but next time. And so she leaves. She goes back into the station. I'm assuming that at some point you guys are going to want to leave Calgary, or is there other stuff that you want to do while you're here? Now you're connected. You're docked at the station. So if you want to shop or anything like that, I know you're gonna get fuel and.
You're gonna get fuel. We got to find out what happened to our friend gambling. Then I got to let her know that we're heading to Mirabilis next.
Okay. Gawker.
Yep.
You are gambling. Go ahead. What's your gambling skill?
So you just wanted to lose some money.
No, it's 2.
2? Okay. Okay. Go ahead and give me a 2d6 plus 2. 8. You broke even.
Okay.
You broke even. You spent a better part of however many hours on thing, but you broke even. Basically, the way I was working is you roll the gambling skill. For every point above 8 that you get, you make 500 credits. For every point below,
lower,
you lose 500.
Yep. Sounds fair.
Now, what we could do in the future is you place the bet. You say, all right, I'm going to bet 500 per point, and that gives you the option.
Right.
But got an 8, broke even.
Right. 8's broke even. It sounds good.
All right. Cool. All right. So what are you guys going to do next?
So is Palmer okay with heading to Mirabilis?
He's like, as long as I can get hold of Bank of Terra, I'll have access to my resources and I can start making inquiries. The poor sods on my in my summer house aren't the only resources that I can bring to bear on things. Either intelligence or things, fiscal. So I have to reach out to my guys. I haven't had a chance to talk to them.
All
But
right,
I can do that from Mirabilis as easy as anywhere else.
Then we will radio Mirabilis and tell them sorry for the delay, but we are on our way back now.
All right. So Gin makes all the appropriate arrangements. You guys steam out to to get out of the gravity wells of the system. It's actually quite a bit closer because there's fewer planets here, and the star is not it's not as enormous a gravity well as it's actually a pretty small star and was once a gas giant. So it's not pulling down like a star-sized gravity well. It's certainly not serious. So you guys will get out there, and then you pop the jump. Weber, so it takes a week. Oh, well, no, it's going to take more than that to get to Mirabilis. You got to have 2 jumps, I think. Let's go to. Hold on, we got to stop at the Bettendorf. I got too many screens here. It's crazy.
Good.
All right, so you guys are at Calgary. Yeah, so you guys are a jump 4 craft. It's going to take you 2 jumps to get to Mirabilis. That's 2 weeks.
Okay, well,
Jump space.
Weber Jiix will be awake.
Yep. So Weber, I need you to roll another one of those endurance checks.
Oh, he's not there.
Weber.
There's an empty chair.
There he is.
There he is.
We can't hear you. It's because you're muted, I think.
Sprechen Sie Deutsch?
Try say something now.
Should we try German? Yeah.
Nothing. You're still muted according to what I can see.
Se habla español.
Can you
Here
hear
you
me
go.
now?
Yep.
There he is. All right, hold on a sec.
All right.
Got it. Okay.
Rolling. Oh, Jesus.
Oh, so yeah, so Wagner, you bring Weber out of surgery, and immediately he starts crashing, and you're like, whoop, this is not gonna think. And so he's like, Wagner's like, everybody out of med lab, and so it looks like he's gonna have to spend another week recovering. He had a massive blood pressure loss. His neural ace was reaching out. All this stuff was going berserk. So he's good at. He's got another week, but he should be out of it. We'll do another check when you drop out of jump space in Mirabilis 2 weeks later. So, so is anybody else doing anything in that interim period?
Well, are we having our material specialist look at the blob?
Yeah, you want to do that? He can do that. So
Yeah.
he'll examine it, and he's like, "Can I?" He's like, "Can I use your AI to do some soil to section samples and stuff like that?" And I assume you guys give him permission to do that.
Sure.
So he's you see him sort of like going through this, and he takes some of the undifferentiated material from one of the tentacles and asks for Gin to look at this kind of thing. He's speaking a language that none of you guys really understand all that well. This the language of material science, but he's like running a bunch of stuff by Gin and that kind of stuff. He comes back out to you guys and sits down after he's done. He's like, I got to be honest with you. You guys playing is this some sort of a prank?
No, it's definitely not a prank.
Because that's not a creature in there. That's just it's like a model of a creature.
So,
although pretty,
It was moving around pretty quick.
that thing was moving around. All right, he says, this is what he tells you. He says, look, I had your AI do some sections on that, especially for using some of the his expertise. And basically he says, look, you've got an undifferentiated mass that's masquerading as tentacles and stuff here. Essentially the mass is comprised of carbon, silicon, various kinds of hydroxyls. In itself, it's not hugely interesting. Various trace elements, that kind of thing. Nothing that would indicate anything out of the ordinary. But also, he's like, there's but it's not alive. There's nothing here alive. He goes, I looked at the stinger structure too, and he says that toxin. He's like, I was careful with it because you guys, it has a stinger and it was a toxin. And I looked at that too, and I had your AI analyze it, and it's not a toxin. He says it's got, it's basically a hydrogen peroxide base with a few trace elements: sulfur, selenium, some zinc, and that's about it. I don't know what happened if you're telling me that this thing stung that guy. I don't know why he's sick. Give me 1 second. I'll be right back.
We keep losing people.
Getting curiouser and curiouser.
Yeah, this is odd. We've got two mysteries, right? We can try to find out about them, or maybe it's both if we go back to Greenburn once we drop this guy off. And I suppose, being the captain, I'm the one who's going to have to get grilled over why we helped a kidnapper. So I'll go take that heat.
I have no idea at this point.
Weber Jiix can be awake by then because I could use his help and his sweet talking.
Yeah, let's tell him he's a hypochondriac and get up right now, apparently.
And roll better this time.
Well, that would help. Is it something we said? Where is everybody?
I'm sure that'll work fantastic. Just explain to him that there's no reason his guts are dissolving. Just get up off the table and stop.
Yeah, it's all pretend.
There's nothing wrong with you.
Yes.
There never was a coronavirus.
Shout a screed at him. Well, in the interim, maybe we can FaceTime Eric and sing his kid to sleep.
Oh man, yeah. I hope he's still not struggling.
Well,
Hoping he just forgot rather than he's still trying to get him to sleep.
an hour.
These new age parents and their refusal to use Jack Daniels. I don't know what the hell is wrong.
I know.
Hey, it worked for me.
At least antihistamine.
Put some tussin on it.
Crying can be a great cardio workout. He can just cry himself to sleep.
Right. At some point, that's what you got to do.
Yep.
At some point, you got to let your kids fend for themselves.
My parents openly admitted they used scotch on me when I was teething.
Oh, really?
They said I didn't cry at all after that. I just kind of laid there.
8 o'clock was bedtime for my girls, and I used to tell them they don't have to go to sleep; they just have to lay down, and they, fall asleep.
Yeah, once they're laying down, they're falling asleep.
Yeah, they lay down and chill out, and 32 seconds later, they're unconscious.
Yeah, I'm not tired. I don't care. You don't have to go to sleep. You just have to lay down.
Smart idea.
And my wife worked the graveyard shift, so I was in charge of evenings. So
I don't remember scotch or bourbon, but I remember something called paregoric or something like that.
Never heard of it.
Yeah, I just remember threats. If you get up out of that bed, I'm going to beat your ass. I stayed in the damn bed.
yeah, worked.
I have to look it up.
Wait, what?
Wait, what?
We're
Talking
talking
about
about
parenting.
soporifics, like our parents' paregoric or camphorated tincture of opium, also known as
Nice.
is a traditional patent medicine known for its anti-diarrheal, antitussive, and analgesic properties.
Well, that explains why you slept.
Yeah, something.
Somehow I think I was better off with the scotch.
No doubt.
Yeah.
I agree. Scotch sounds pretty good, actually. Bourbon.
Little Jack Daniels is far better than chasing the dragon.
Yeah, tincture of opium, you'll sleep like a baby and great dreams to boot.
Well, that's what we're talking about, teething.
Who's teething?
Well, that's why Eric's not here yet.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, no, I made a
Like
joke
what our
about
parents used to do.
I made a joke about new age parents refusing to use Jack Daniels to get their kids to sleep, and then it sort of ramped up from there.
My understanding is when I was teething as a baby, it wasn't Jack Daniels, it was J&B Scotch.
There you go.
Was the choice of a boomer generation at that point. So.
Cheap crap.
cheap kid is cheap crap.
Well, it's going to a kid. You're not going to waste your.
Yeah, you're not going to waste the good stuff. Get the Highland Park 18. You know, he's got a tooth coming in.
Where's the old granddad?
Yeah, not the 30-year-old.
I like old granddad.
I do too.
I think the wine and cheese shop over in Creve Coeur sells old granddad bottled and bond for like $22, and it's good at 100 proof. It's fantastic.
I don't even think it's 22.
It's the job done.
Definitely.
My family was 1 part honey, 1 part whiskey, 1 part water.
There you
Right
go.
in the baby bottle.
Nice.
Monsters.
Well, it's
All
better
right.
than opium.
Well, it depends who you ask, but all right. So this guy's basically saying, look, I did some preliminary analysis on this stuff, and it doesn't what you're telling me that this creature did doesn't make sense. You've got some undifferentiated goop, which is basically hydroxyls and esters, essentially. It's essentially proto butter. And it's undifferentiated. You know, these are all the stuff that you would normally put into a creature, but it's
Proto
not
butter.
differentiated.
That's what she said.
It's like somebody took basically the way he describes it, somebody took an empty shape, took all the insides out, blended them into a thick paste, and then re-injected it back into the shape so that it looked like a shape again. That's what he would say is the easiest way to have something like this. He also did an analysis on the toxin that went into Weber that you guys told him that stung him and caused all this damage to his internal organs. And he's basically saying, look, that's impossible. This is essentially hydrogen peroxide with some trace elements in it. There's, some selenium, there's some zinc, a few other some sulfur, but there's nothing here that would have done what you say was done to him.
Are you calling us liars?
Yeah.
Well, no, I'm
Told you it was alive.
I'm just telling you that, he feels, at first he feels like you guys might be like putting him on a little bit just to test him maybe or something. But he feels like he has to go through with it because apparently you guys saved him from being kidnapped. But he's also like, he's looking at this thing and he's like, I don't know what this thing is, but it's not a creature. He basically tells you the same thing that Wagner, you discovered on your own.
So we can tell Weber to get the fuck up because
Stop being a hypochondriac.
Time to get him up. All right, Weber. Let's have a new roll. Come on, get it together, man.
A real roll.
Well, that's what you described as like twice baked potatoes.
Yeah, exactly. It's a twice baked potato.
All right. Is that no?
Come on, you can do it. Come on, I know you can. Get up out of that bed and walk.
Here we go. Big money, no whammies.
We're gonna call. All right, 8. That's good enough. Gin put in a call to Space Kenneth Copeland, and he sent back some healing energy to you. And now you're up and around. The first thing he says, Palmer's the first guy to meet you. He's like, "Hey, buddy boy, I'm glad to see you up and around." And you're like, "Give me a scotch."
Slap me on the back, put me back in Oklahoma.
Wagner's like, take it the frick easy. I had to resection your entire lower, small intestine. Maybe just baby sips on the scotch until you get 100%. But yeah, you by the time you guys drop out of jump space in Mirabilis system, you are feeling much better. You're still a little sore. The surgery scars are there, but you're pinging your neural lace every once in a while to check on your biologicals.
I got a mean craving for proto butter. You guys got any?
baby batter.
All right, so you guys drop out of Mirabilis station and begin steaming toward Asensio, or Mirabilis system. You begin steaming towards Asensio. Jin says that Walk Into Light has greeted us and said that we are welcome back, and is directing you guys to a particular dock in Asensio station. The only thing different about this time is the last time you docked there is the last time you docked in what was essentially public or commercial docking space when you were at Asensio. It's just normal. There's always things. You are being guided in this case to what you would consider to be VIP docking space.
I have a feeling there's going to be a welcome wagon.
Finally fitting.
It's in a different portion of the station.
No witnesses.
It takes a while to get there, but you do, and even Tam's like, "Ooh, this VIP docking is very cushiony." As you guys pull in, you connect. Jin's like, "We have pressure. The hatch is open, and Ascensio Station air floods into the Gin and Tonic, which is good because you guys have been breathing your own air for 2 weeks."
And proto butter.
And proto butter. All right, so they're already waiting for you there, and they have a big grab sled. But the material science guy walks in. He's like, "Hey guys, sorry," and he immediately you recognize these guys as not individually, but as members of the corporation. They're wearing various uniform type things. You recognize him. He's like, yeah, you're not going to need that. And so the one guy's like, boom, you 2 guys take the grab sled, go into their hold, get the cryo chamber, bring it out. And they're like, "How are you feeling, sir?" And he's like, "Yeah, fine." For the material science guy says, "Fine. These guys have been great, great hosts. Apparently they saved me from being kidnapped, if you can believe that." They're like, "Of course, sir. Can you come with us?" And so they take him out, and eventually the grab sled guys come out, and they're carrying the sort of butterflied cryo chamber they come with, and the one guy says, "I have a message for you. Is there a Captain Black here?"
Present.
He says, "You're Captain Black," and he takes out an actual piece of paper and in an envelope and hands it to you.
Wow.
And, says,
"Message for you, sire."
And he's like, "I think that's all for us. Good day, sir." And they take off.
Right.
And that's kind of it for them.
Really? I thought there'd be more hullabaloo than that.
Well, that's about it. I mean, you do have a couple of do have some cargo.
Did they take the kidnapper's office?
No, you didn't mention the kidnapper.
So
to my knowledge, you have not mentioned to walk into light at any of the subspace communications that you had a kidnapper in tow.
No.
As far as I know, she's still in a induced coma in med lab.
I figured. Yeah, I figured.
No, but we have 2.
To talk to us when
well, no, the one you let go at in Calgary.
Greenport.
No,
Calgary.
you stole him. You stole him from Greenport. You let him go in Greenport.
Calgary.
Yeah,
we had 3 total, right?
No,
we let
2
one
total.
go.
2.
Well, we had the
I shot-
victim and then 2 kidnappers. We just released the victim to the university.
So the woman I shot, the one you mutilated, and
she's in an induced coma in med lab.
Right.
Grim.
with all of her cybernetic implants removed.
I'm checking with the AI.
Like
make sure all
you're
my
doing
partners are there.
By Dr. Frankenstein.
by Dr. Frankenheimer. All right. So, I mean, what do you guys do?
Well, I asked walking to light. There's nobody else waiting to kind of talk to us about this?
Nope. He took off.
All right. Well, Palmer's gonna go check in with some peeps, right? So we gotta take a couple days. What crew? You said we had cargo that we got on?
Yeah, cargo. You got you've got, and let me check. You got 25 tons of chemical food additives from Remulac bound for. Oh, that's where you let that guy off. You let him off at Remulac. For Mirabilis, and another 10 tons of herbal products, also from Remulac to Mirabilis. Your accounts receivable for those are 200 kilocredits.
Right. So I will ask Weber if he's feeling up to the task. Mr. Jiix.
Oh yeah, I'm here to serve. Let's do some wheeling and dealing.
So Palmer is gonna.
Wait, I just want to make sure that am I loading cargo back onto? I know we're a working ship, but we have some secondary.
Yeah, we can find cargo here.
Okay,
Yeah, so let's get these taken care of, and then pick up some stuff for going back to Greenport.
Okay.
Greenport. Okay.
Or points along the way.
I think we have some new contacts. Greenprint might be able to hook us up with some better deals too if we're looking for specific items now. We made some friends with the Space
Potentially.
Coast Guards.
That's true. You guys you was with
We
Bill
have an
in the
arrangement.
at
Yep.
Greenpert Bill.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it could be mutually beneficial.
Okay. All right. Oops. There we go. All right. So yeah. So you've got the cargo that you want to let off, and that goes off without a hitch. Essentially, it takes a little while. You have to alert the fact that you've got cargo here. The cargo guys are not necessarily used to coming to VIP territory to unload cargo, but they're capable of doing it. A lot of cargo goes very back and forth. There's a lot of reasons why it was. So basically, it takes a couple hours before you get some cargo trams down there to offload the cargo. Palmer, if you're gonna, I'm sorry, Weber, if you're gonna go, you have to go to the business offices and start wheeling and dealing, so you can do that. Palmer is saying, look, I've got to make some calls. I'm gonna go check and make sure that my my credit is still good in this frickin' station, and if so, I'm gonna get a room and do some business. I'll be in touch.
All righty.
And so he takes off too. So Palmer goes out to the business offices to try and round up some return things. And you're saying to Greenprint you're talking about going to?
Greenprint or
Yeah.
someplace that's on route.
All right.
Yeah, I'm
Well,
gonna
that'd
be wheeling and dealing. Oh, sorry, hang on a second.
Sarpedon, Remulac, Greenprint, either way. So we'll figure that out. In the meantime, are you going to even look at that piece of paper?
Yeah, while everyone else is taking care of that stuff, I'll go take a look-see.
Okay. So the paper says that essentially said, so the guys that pulled these off, there's a note that says that essentially it's very sort of like, it's very weird, it's very creamy paper. The envelope is very nice. It says the Honorable Elrin Spofulam of Spofulam Corporation would request your presence for discussion at the 7 Grand Lounge at 1900 hours local time tomorrow. It says the date. It doesn't say tomorrow. To discuss recompense and discussion of future relationships. Your presence is requested.
Hey guys, can I?
Oh wait, God damn it! Keep forgetting
No-
to turn on the wrong mic.
no
Can we
RSVP.
recommend that somebody goes with, or at least keeps an eye on Palmer? Because somebody took a lot of effort to whack him. Now he's wandering off getting a Holiday Inn suite.
True.
So maybe he can use a
Docker will
little
go.
security, a little heavy.
Are we sending the doc?
What?
Docker will go.
Oh, not Docker.
Docker.
Oh.
Okay, so Docker. Excellent.
Docker. Gokker.
Docker.
Gawker.
Right, so you're gonna accompany Palmer, and Palmer balks. He's like, "Hey, I don't need this sort of thing. I can handle myself. I know what I'm doing." And you guys are like, "I don't know. Somebody tried to kill you, that kind of thing." And
No, they tried really hard to kill you. Maybe take, if you're swiping your credit card, and not keeping a low profile, they could have other people trying to whack you as well. So either you go on somebody else's card and stay a little low profile, or you at least have some security with you.
he's like, "All right, I guess." He looks at you, Gawker. He's like, "You got a gun?"
Yeah. Also a cudgel.
And a cudgel.
This is my rifle. This is my gun. This is for fighting.
Well, he's like, if hopefully it's not a metal gun that you brought out here, because Walk into Light would see that, especially at the VIP places. But he's like, maybe we can find you maybe we can find you something that won't necessarily draw a huge amount of attention.
Good.
Come with me then.
Okay. Let's
All
go
right,
shopping.
Dockaroo, let's go.
All right.
Gawker.
Yes, Gawkaroo, that's what I called you.
Not Dockers.
Cotton
Hey, Les.
Dockers, right? That's right.
Every time I go down to the dock to start wheeling and dealing stuff, I break out a little Lando Calrissian half cape and put it on just to
Nice.
have a little flair.
I like it.
Yeah, total flair, and not at all useful.
Perfect. All right. So Gawker is going with Palmer. Weber is out in the business office. You guys sending anybody with Weber? Because he's only like 3 days from waking up from major surgery.
Doc, you want to keep him company?
Sure.
Just in
My
case
good
he
friend
collapses,
Jim
you're
Beam
there.
and old granddad.
Alexa, sorry, I wasn't listening again. He's looking up.
No, that wasn't Gawker. No, this was Doctor.
Yeah, that bear porn is very visually entertaining.
It's tempting. It's very intriguing.
He's like, why are they all dog-eared?
What's wrong with these pages?
Why is that page sticky?
The proto butter all the way.
You can barely stand it.
It's one of those scratch and sniff ads.
All right, so Dr. Wagner and Palmer go hunting for new business. Palmer and Gawker go trying to see what they can scare up. That leaves
Captain Jet.
Captain Black. Is that it?
Captain Black.
Eric never did log on, did he?
No. So we'll just say he stays with the ship.
Okay, Coffin stays with the ship, and Black, I'm assuming you go to the meeting.
Yeah, I put on my best kit and I head to dinner.
So you are familiar with the $7,000. This is the place that basically all this started. When you got your first job, tracking stuff and bringing it all. Here we go. Here's Asensio Station and the $7,000 underneath it. Hey, there's Black sitting right there at the bar. That kind of thing.
Remember that picture?
Yep. And so you sit at the bar, and the bartender comes over and goes, "Excuse me, is your name Captain Black?"
It might be. Depends on who's asking.
I've had a request. The request is to go over to that. So they have what they call cloisters. It's the old word that they used to use for Irish bars and stuff. But essentially it's a small room off the bar area. He says, somebody's asked that I tell you, if you would, to please go into cloister number 4 over there.
Is our cloisters 3 and 5 occupied?
They look to be, yeah.
Do I recognize anybody in those two, or?
No, 3 seems to have essentially just revelers who have, sort of gone into the thing. 5 is closed. You can't see in it, but it does have the little alert signal on the door that says it's occupied.
And 4 also has the alert on?
Well, 4 has the door is actually standing open a little bit.
Is there anybody in there?
There is somebody in there. There's a man sitting at a table by himself. He has a large data pad in front of him, and he's making notes with a stylus on it. He also has a second data pad, which he has occasionally refers to, and off near his right hand is a bottle of some sort of wine, and he's got about 2/3 of a glass of that wine. It's open. He's got 2/3 of a glass of that wine sitting of it, and there's another glass sitting like sort of in front of him, across, sort of where somebody who was sitting across the table would sit, and it's like upside down on a little one of those little doilies.
The doily.
Yeah, it's like a little space doily.
I'll walk up to him then and just say, "Is that for me?"
Ah, Captain Black, thank you so much for coming by. I'm glad you could make it. Please sit.
I'll sit.
All right. Hold on a second. All right. He sits down. He reaches over, grabs the thing, and decants, pours you a little bit of wine in your upturned glass. And then he says,
Captain Black,
Get him.
thank you for coming.
Well, thank you for providing me a drink, I think.
Yeah, please make yourself comfortable.
Absolutely.
Your crew was unavailable, I see.
We had a few other tasks that needed to be seen to, so I sent them on their way.
Of course. Well, by way of introduction, my name is Elrin Spofulam, and I'm the CRO of Spof Corp. And I wanted to thank you personally for bringing back our scientist.
I appreciate that. I have to say, I'm glad that suspicion didn't fall on us, since we only accidentally trusted a last-minute booking, and sometimes those come back to haunt you.
Well, of course, it's understandable. And when given the opportunity, you and your crew certainly did the right thing. So thank you very much. And I'd also like to apologize that you and your crew were caught up in this misunderstanding. And I want to make sure that we do right by you for bringing back one of our valued family members, corporate members. So do you happen to know how much the end payer was going to pay the kidnapper for our Dr. Robinson?
So I'm checking my own personal memory here.
$1 billion credits.
I think we know a number.
It was the what you guys had from at least from Queetzing's data pads was the total payment was going to be one mega credit, 1 million credits.
Right.
That works out to 4,000 quatlus.
4,000 quatlos or 12 bars of cold pressed latinum.
Yep.
So tell him that's our understanding, that that's what the gentleman was going to get paid if he had dropped it.
1 mega credit for Dr. Robinson?
Yeah.
Ridiculous. Walk into
Ridiculously
light.
cheap.
Walk into light. Will you please transfer 2 mega credits to the captain?
Good.
Of course, sir.
Thank you.
It is done.
Man, we got to do this more often.
Again, as I said, I wanted to thank you for
Can
returning
you make
our
that to the
scientist.
GNT rather than the captain?
If
You're
the
not
GN
there.
If the GNT
I
had
know.
showed up, then the GNT might have gotten compensation all around. But since only one dude showed up
You blow off the meetings, you don't get the mega credits.
to
That's
a
how
handwritten fancy paper invitation, one of you showed up, one of you gets the money.
Fair enough.
So my understanding is that you're a long haul deliverer. You carry cargo, that sort of thing.
That's our business.
Well, I can't help but notice how well you took care of the situation that you found yourself in, even though it wasn't your initial intent. And I'd like to know if you would be interested in, so that we can repay the favor even more, if you would be interested in coming to work for Spof Corp.
Well, I'll tell you, I was in a long-term kind of career for quite a while and found it didn't quite meet my my expectations. I prefer contracting work, if you know what I mean.
Oh, you misunderstand. I don't mean actually become an employee of the corporation. The corporation has its business practices that are obviously 100% above board. We have our scientists, we have our patent clerks, we have people who make these inventions. What I need is someone who can get things done.
Well, then maybe we can have an agreement.
This would be completely off book, of course, for both of our safety. But I think that your crew has shown that they can handle these sorts of situations, think on their feet, and would be valuable assets as agents for us in the future.
I think we can definitely be part of that arrangement.
How familiar are you with the Ursay?
Lately, more familiar than we'd like.
Well, allow me to explain. The Ursay are newcomers to the galactic stage. Technologically, they're behind the Terrans. They're behind basically everybody else. But that doesn't stop them from wanting to set themselves up as equals to all of the rest of us. Now, the way that they have decided to go about that is to set up various corporations and attempt to bring themselves to that equal footing on the table. But the way that they're doing it is a little heavy, a little ham-handed. They're apparently responsible for kidnapping our scientists, and that's their talent search, which obviously we can't have them continue to do that.
Great.
So what I would like is for you to get in the way of that and to figure out who it is that needs to be stopped so that our company doesn't continue to be victimized. Now, obviously, we're accustomed to corporate espionage. we design things, we invent things, and we patent them, and that's our business. So it's not unusual for people to come and attempt to steal our ideas. We're fully capable of dealing with that. We terminate their employment as soon as we find out that that's what's going on. But this is a different thing. This is sort of a more physical thing that I think we need people who can take care of those sorts of situations outside of the corporate realm.
And of course, you know that the URSA tend to be a little bit violent when confronted.
Well, they do tend to be heavy-handed in all aspects of their business dealings, yes.
Yeah.
So obviously there would be compensation commensurate with what you're taking on. That's not an issue. The only question is if you and your crew are interested in taking on this role for us.
I think I can speak on their behalf and say we'd definitely be interested.
All right. Well, then there's some things that I'd like to share with you. Go ahead, Les. These are images that we were able to get from the neural lace of one of our scientists who was kidnapped. We were able to get them back. Unfortunately, their situation upon return was grim. We weren't able to save our scientists, but we were able to grab just these few images. And so whatever the URSA are planning, because they are kidnapping specifically scientists, there may be a clue in these images as to what they're attempting to accomplish. Now, again, as I've said, they want to get themselves at an even place at the table. So there is no telling what they're trying to do.
It's
but
possibly
we do know
an
that,
evil place as well.
Yeah, possibly. Freudian slip. Who let the little German guy in here? But whatever it is that they're trying to do ultimately involves some form of technology, which is why they have such an interest in our scientists.
Would you like me to explicate these images for the captain, Mr. Spofulam?
Yes, please.
Good, very good. As you can see, the top image is a image that seems to indicate some sort of planetary surveying equipment. The interesting portion here, I think, can be shown at this point right here. As you can see, the two areas that I've highlighted. Normal surveying equipment would be able to track one planetary body at a time. This, however, seems to be indicative of two intersecting planetary bodies, which, as you know, as the basic laws of physics projected, is impossible. We're unable to glean much from this particular image, and we're not and our analysis has not come up with any conclusions as to why a planetary survey, a fairly rudimentary planetary survey equipment would show two intersecting bodies. The damage to both would be extreme. The second image, as you can see here, is some sort of biological laboratory. In this case, we are able to determine a couple of things. You can see from the arrows on the left is what looks to be a growing system. These are pretty standard. In this case, however, our analysis is indicative of these are some sort of unknown alien plant life. It is not these plants do not conform to any specific species, either Terran or alien, that we have cataloged. If this is the case, this would represent an entirely new botanical species. On the right, you can see what looks to be a mass of some sort of undifferentiated globules. In this case, the fact that it is in a cage, and you can see in the background that there are some monitors, that would seem to indicate that these scientists are dealing with this creature as if it were alive. This creature, if it is indeed a creature, is also undocumented from the point of view of any Terran or alien life forms that we have currently in our
That's
catalog.
interesting. I think I recognize that little fella.
You do, sir?
Yeah, I might be able to provide you some actual material there. We actually had your material scientist take a look at it, and he couldn't make sense of it either. But we were attacked by something that you could describe as undifferentiated proto butter.
I would be very interested in speaking to your AI about that.
Yeah, why don't you go ahead and do that?
The third image is a partial image, and I apologize for the quality, but it does seem to indicate a fairly standard drive engineering chamber on a larger starship. The size of this chamber and some of the elements that we have been able to identify on the view screens would have us hazard a guess that the ship of this size that would require this sort of technology would be in the 100,000 to 200,000 ton range, making it quite a large ship. What confuses us is the circle area in the center, which seems to be indicating some sort of visual representation of jump space mathematics. However, our analysis does not indicate that this conforms to any sort of normal jump drive mathematics or any visual representations thereon that we can identify.
Fascinating.
Sir, would you like to provide Captain Black a précis of the other images?
Please continue.
Here are some images that were also recaptured from our employees' neural lace. These are actually the last images that this particular lace was able to render up to us. In this case, this is very difficult to see. However, you can generally make out. We've done enhancements to this image. You can generally make out what is the back of a woman's head. We have identified that woman through skull size and other ways as being Dr. Enger Washa. She is a xenobiologist. She's 34 years old, and she disappeared from our corporate arcologies on Sirius on 8/16/2483, which is about 18 months ago. We also, the next image that we see is we have analyzed this image, and it is a partial image from what we've seen, and it looks to be an image of a portion of a standard genetic fuser and part of its cooling system. Typically, the coolant systems are hidden, so this one may have been being worked on or otherwise repaired or modified. The last image is to us the most disturbing image that we have seen. In this case, what we have is we've designated this unknown subject designated 6 Epsilon. Our feeling is this is an alien, and what we're seeing here is an image that includes a portion of a face, an eye, an arm, and a portion of a torso. This image does not conform to any alien species currently in the catalog. That is the extent of the images. Back to you, sir.
So you can see a little bit at this point what we're dealing with, I assume.
Yes. In fact, makes me want to ask if you can do me a favor, perhaps.
A favor?
I've got a, for lack of a better word, put together drawing of a person of interest that
I haven't actually put together that drawing yet.
Okay.
I have a soon to be put together drawing.
Put together drawing, charcoal drawing that's being worked on by my AI as we speak. That may or may not be directly related to what's going on here. We think this individual was working with the URSA, but we don't know that for sure. But if you could help us identify them, it would help us in our inquiry.
Well, I don't see an issue with you using our AIs for identification once you have something. The URSAs are abrupt, they're violent, and they're unsophisticated. But it does not mean that they don't use agents who are not URSA to complete their tasks. They buy soldiers for hire just like anyone else does. But this is really the cause that we need you to look into. Because whatever it is they're working on is drawing them to kidnap our scientists, or the material scientists, the xenobiologists. This is all somehow included in what's going on.
Do you have any idea where their base of operations is, or a good place to start if we were going to start looking for them?
I do not. All I know at this point is that we've had scientists kidnapped from here, as well as other stations around. They could literally be anywhere, but obviously their home world is not that far from here. So,
yeah. So if we go back to that the star map, their home world is called Kukulkan, and are we back there? Hold on a second. Yeah, we are. All right. So you guys are here in Mirabilis. Kukulkan is the home world of the Ursays right here. Kukulkan, the Ursay do quite a bit of business in Greenpernt, because Greenpernt is really their, well, as you guys know, that Greenpernt is a very commercially oriented city or system, and yeah, it's sort of neutral. I mean, it's Salamini cluster territory nominally, but it's a bit of a Wild West area. But they deal with the Ursay a lot. Most of the Terran Confederate cluster, Salamini cluster technology and supplies that they get, all their trade typically goes through Greenpernt and then into the southern cluster.
Got it. So that could be a place to start too. But
and it seems that the end game kidnapper in this particular case set up their meeting for Greenpernt. So that may be a place to start as far as the investigation is concerned, or it may not. To be honest, I don't know. I do know, however, that my understanding is that you had some issues when you left Greenprint last.
yes, we sure did.
So I believe that the actions that you were undertaking were for the benefit of my family and our company. So I will personally reach out, try to salve that misunderstanding so that you will not face any issues when you return.
Well, I'd appreciate that. We were able to kind of take care of it ourselves as well, but it always helps to have friends in high places, if you know what I mean.
Excellent. So then we have an agreement?
I believe we do.
So,
Excuse me, sir. I have that sketch from the Gin and Tonic's AI. Would you care to view it?
Please.
On screen. This is the person that Palmer spoke with about that spoke with. Now I don't know that Walk Into Light would know about the Steiner Library.
Right.
But this is the, so basically what he says is this is the image that the Gin and Tonic has sent over as a person of interest in this regard.
And it looks like every serial killer ever.
He's not wearing a hoodie.
Have the AI do a comprehensive search of identity for Dances with Wolves here.
Yeah, okay. He's quiet. He keeps to himself.
I'll have that done, sir.
Looks like Kevin Costner to me.
It does look a little bit like Kevin Costner.
So I'll stand up, put my hand out to Captain Black.
I will return the handshake.
We have an agreement.
We have an agreement, sir. I will check back in with you frequently.
And I will, the next time that you dock, I will send a representative. And that representative will be the person who you primarily deal with going forward. If you need me specifically, don't hesitate to reach out. Otherwise, your orders will come through my representative.
Understood. Thank you for your time.
Have a good evening.
All right, and at that point, you see the guy sit back down and finish his wine, gather up his, you see Elrin Spofulam gather up his data pads, finish his wine, and he leaves the cloister and walks out. The one thing that you do notice is he's maybe 4 steps out of the cloister when you see probably a half a dozen guys just sort of materialize sort of surreptitiously out of various places. One guy's sitting at that booth, one guy's standing over by the payphone, you know, that kind of stuff. These guys, Spofulam just sort of like walks towards the door. These guys materialize out of nowhere. You know, they're all, I mean, they don't really materialize, but they're like scattered about. They all stand up at the same time and just very smoothly just follow along and surround him and escort him out of the $7 grand. Very,
just in
yeah.
case I had any ideas.
Well, no, I mean, the impression that you get is that this is something they do all the time. Like, this is his standard bodyguard, but he had, you know, said, look, I don't need you guys sitting in there with me. Just, you know, collect me when I got. But yeah, they sort of stand up, and it's like Secret Service guys. They just sort of, you know, form a box around him, and off they go, you know, out through the thing. Nobody seems to pay much attention to it. And it seems very natural the way they do it.
By the way, Les, really impressed with your artistic skill that you're able to draw that picture so quickly.
Thank you. Thank you. I've been working on that. I've been doing my sketch drawings. It's part of my my quarantine, you know, sort of keeping busy.
Would you like to see my etchings?
Would you like to see my etchings? All right. So so there's an interesting turn of events.
Very.
Let's see how well.
Let's see how much of this Captain Black even tells his crew.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see. It's like, yeah, Captain Black rushes back to the Gin and Tonic and takes off. Yeah, and you see in the distance, in the rear view window of the Gin and Tonic, somebody's like, let's go ahead and pick up some. So where are you guys going to go? Because, I mean, you were probably going to use Lace to sort of give Weber an idea of, you know, where you want cargo to go. So there's cargo available going to Sarpedon, going to Yiz, going to Fenris, going to Remulac, going to Greenpernt, you know, I mean, going to even going north, you know, to SETI and stuff like that. There's a lot of cargo going from Mirabilis in all directions. Weber will ping you on Lace and say, hey, you know, do we have any specific targets where we're going so that I can lock down some of this cargo?
Well, Greenpernt would be our first choice. I'd rather not have to make a detour if we don't have to, but if the money's worth it, we'll do it.
All right. Greenpernt it is. All right. Weberoo, do you want to roll a couple of those checks that you do to see if you can pick up some cargo? The first one is what's the one you used? The skill you use? We can't hear you. I could read your lips though on that one.
How about now?
There we go. We got you now.
Yeah.
Hi. Okay. So I'm trying to figure out what was I using. It was a negotiation skill of some sort. Let's see.
Yeah. What are your skills that you have? I don't have your character sheet up.
Weber Grill. Oh no, Weber. Here we go. All right. So streetwise, recruiting, carousing, forgery, interrogation, liaison. I think liaison or recruiting or
liaison probably. Yeah, liaison. So go ahead and roll and add. So what's your liaison skill?
1.
1. Make that a +3.
Okay. So 2d6 plus 3.
Yep.
All right. Well, people, let's wheel, let's deal.
10. Yeah, you get cargo. So, in fact, you were actually kind of surprised. You, even though you have good relationships with these people who are Mirabilis, you historically, I mean, before you were a bit of an unknown quantity, and you had to sort of like rely on Emix to sort of help you guide out and smooth things over. Nowadays, you're being welcomed into these businesses' offices, like, oh, hey, Weber Jiix, yeah, come on in, you know, that kind of thing. It seems to be a little easier. So give me a D100.
One moment. Any bonuses to the D100? No, I think I've asked this before.
No, just regular, just straight up roll.
Wrong one. Here we go. I don't know. I rolled twice, but
Oh,
10
what was
or
the first
49.
one? 49.
10. Oh, the
So
49. 49.
you got a nice consignment. We've got a nice consignment of specialized medical equipment and supplies. Go ahead. And what was the second D100?
No, it was only one. I had rolled 10 for my cargo roll and only one D100
Okay.
so far.
Roll D100 again.
39.
39. So 40 tons of specialized medical equipment and supplies are available to go to Greenpert, and that medical supplies is a 2.5 modifier. So 40 tons at 2,500 a ton would be total price of. Hold on, I gotta get out a calculator because I'm bad at math. 40.
Call it 6 mega credits.
25 equals.
Just round it up.
40 times 2.5 is 100. 6 meta credits. Yeah. No, 40 tons times 2.5 kilocredits a ton is, I believe. And
40, 80.
not only
so
can it,
that'd be
100, it's
100.
100. Right? So yeah, 100 kilocredits.
Okay. It's not nothing. I'll take it.
All right. Go ahead and
we
roll.
specialize in bear porn, cat porn, anything else you guys
So
have?
guys, if it's porn you're taking, so usually, so the guy will say, look, we move as much porn in as anybody, but when it comes to bear porn, it's always coming to us from Greenpert as opposed to going. I don't know where the source is, but it's obviously Greenpert related. So the guy's like, hey, I might have something else for you if you roll another 2d6 with that +3.
All right, I'm on it. Let's try again.
11.
Ooh, 11.
Precious
Solid 11.
metals, titanium, and various radioactives. You get a bonus on that one because of the subject matter, but it is a raw materials thing. So go ahead and roll another D100 for tonnage.
40.
40. So they have, in this case, they have 80 tons of precious metals, primarily titanium and titanium alloys, but also they have several tons of radioactives, including some of the more Baroque radioactives. Now these are obviously in shielded crates. Don't open them, but at that price, so at 80 tons. And the price on that is, we're looking at probably got to go as high as 3.5 a ton for this because of the special considerations, which I think is
40. That 265. I think I'm
3.5 times 80, 280. Yeah, so 280 kilos. You interested?
I think we'll take it. What's the cargo capacity on the gin and tonic? And that's so 120 we've taken so far, I think.
Yeah, so the gin and tonic total capacity is 200. So 50 inside the main housing, and then what you have are drop pods of 50 each, and you have three essentially cargo pods that you can attach to the gin and tonic.
Is this all? This is all going to Greenpert?
This is all going to Greenpert. In fact, if you got another roll in you, I might be able to fill out your other last pod. What do you got?
I'm gonna flip my little cape over my shoulder.
Okay.
Deal. Ooh, a 92.
92. He's like, all right, well, you're moving all this stuff to Greenpert for me. I got something. May not be all in. I got some herbal stimulants that I got to get out of here. Just a few tons. Give me a D20.
Herbal stimulant. We're talking like to help help your stamina out with the bear porn, or
be used for that kind of thing. It's not meth. Whatever it is, it's not
17.
Space meth. So I got 15 tons of these stimulants. I've been trying to get them out of here, but you guys come highly recommended. You've done a great job for me before. I can go as high as 5 a ton on that.
All right, so 5 a ton on 15, that's 50, 70, 75, right?
That's 75.
So that's 280 plus 75 plus, what was the first one? 100, right?
100 even, yeah. So 40 tons of pelts. No. Specialized medical equipment. 80 tons of precious metals, and 15 tons of herbal stimulants. Total.
435, I think,
We're
right?
looking at 455.
Oh,
I have.
give it a 20 somewhere.
455. Just a
That was my
shade
20
under
off the
half a
top.
meg.
Yeah.
Just a
Yeah,
shade
okay.
under half a meg, and then 100 and what looks to be 135 tons. You guys can handle that?
We can handle it. Anybody got any small precious cargo they'd like, something low key off the books?
I'd love to help you with that, but no. We're strictly above board except for the herbal stimulants.
Of course.
That kind of thing. So, but we appreciate it. This is a great work. So you get give me an intelligence check. What's your intelligence?
I get the feeling
actually give me a streetwise check and add your streetwise bonus.
Okay, my intelligence is high, so.
Okay, you can do either or. You can do streetwise or intelligence, whichever one you want to use.
Okay, so I guess streetwise is 1 and my intelligence is 11. So what would be a better roll?
Well, 11 is going to be +3, so intelligence.
And streetwise would be +3 too, right?
No, +1. You just have streetwise 1, right?
Right.
Yeah, so it's just that's the plus.
I'll do the +3 then. 10.
10. The reception that you've got at these business offices. I mean, basically, you've got your green print stuff, your card filled out. At the added +2, you're thinking back and you're like, man, they certainly treated me well. You can't help but think that maybe somebody had been, some of this had been paved a little bit.
Somebody greased the skids a little bit.
The skids have a little bit been greased, especially when you think back and the guy called you by name, even though you've never met him before.
It's the Cape, right?
It was Mr. Mr. Weber Jiix of the Shorty Cape.
The Shorty Cape.
So you feel like that maybe the fix is in a little bit?
The fix is in for me. I'm going to take it. I'm going to celebrate with a little scotch pie before we leave Mirabilis.
Okay. So it's gonna take a couple of days for them to get it all together and get it over to you guys. You give them a doc and you just like, oh, VIP docs, very nice, that kind of thing. And it'll take a couple of days.
I am gonna check in with Palmer to see if he's got anything he needs, onboarded on the sly.
So he's got a room at the Space Holiday Inn. It's really nice. He also manages to get, he makes a couple, so he rents this room, he goes in, it's a very business-like room. He's, the first thing he does is hop on Neural Lace and start making orders. So he's reaching out to clothing shops. He's reaching out to check his balance on his credit. He's reaching out to somebody. You could hear him. He's talking to somebody local that he knows. And this is all Gawker that sees this. You guys don't see this. So he's basically rebuilding. He's getting some clothes. He's getting a shower. He's arranging for things. Gawker, you're with him for about 2 hours of this. He's making various kind of queries through his lace and stuff like that. When there's a knock at the door, and you see Palmer, Gawker, he goes to you. He's like, I'm on the neural lace. Go get that.
Are you expecting anyone?
Yeah. It's fine. Just get it.
Look through the people. What's it look like?
So you peep through the peephole. It's not even a peephole. You use Neural Lace, and they shows the camera outside.
Okay.
So it looks like an employee of the hotel, and he has a box in his hand.
Okay.
The box of roses, that always goes well.
It's a box about maybe the size of a shoebox.
My cudgel's a little claspable thing that fits up my sleeve.
Mm-hmm.
I just have that ready. Okay.
Okay.
I open the door.
He's like, sir, is this? I'm looking for Palmer of no last name.
I'll take it.
Okay. Yes, sir. Can you sign for it?
Sure.
Okay.
I signed Palmer.
Yeah. In a big scratches, Palmer. Basically, you sign for it by checking a box in your Neural Lace. It's like, you see the forms and that kind of stuff. All right. And so the guy's like, very good, sir. And he stands there.
Thank you.
With his hand out.
I tip him.
Okay. Make sure to delete those credits from your account. And he's like, thank you, sir. And then closes the door and goes away.
Damn, too much.
Palmer's still on the phone. So he's like,
he didn't say he tipped him well.
thank you, sir. I'll take myself to the movies.
I gave him 10 credits. I charged Palmer 20 for it. I gave the guy a 20.
Palmer's like, no, that's not what I want. What? Just check the damn thing and make sure everything's okay. And he's gesturing. He's like,
I put it over there by him.
okay. No. He's pointing it at the box and he's pointing at you. He's like, no, I told you I want you to do that. He's obviously looking away and talking to somebody on his thing. He's like,
It's your strap, dude.
You want me to open it?
Yeah.
Okay, I go open it.
In there is a nice wooden box about the size of, I don't know, maybe 25 centimeters across, and then another 15 or 20 wide, and maybe 10 deep. You open it up.
Pick the box up and lift it out of that.
Yeah, I keep waiting for you to say check for traps. Check for traps. No, it's not locked or anything. It's got like a little latch on the edge of it. It's just a carry box. It looks like.
I open it facing corner.
You peek under the corner.
I open it up.
You open it up. All right, roll for initiative. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. Inside, nestled in velvet, is a small pistol, which looks to be made entirely of plastic, and next to it are 2 magazines that obviously fit into the butt of the pistol. For game purposes, it's a body pistol. It looks to be entirely made out of plastics and ceramics, and the bullets are also made of what looks to be, to your engineer's eyes, high tensile ceramics. It also looks like, unless you miss your guess, that these are not chemical propellants. You actually pull one of the bullets out, and you can see it's got, the tip of it is a ceramic sort of tip, but the back of it is actually like a little engine. You're like triggering the engine, pulling the trigger triggers the engine, and it shoots out. Yeah. So it's like a little propeller almost. It's not a propeller, but like a little jet engine on the back of a bullet.
Okay.
No propellant doesn't set off anything.
Right.
So you see Palmer.
No alarms or anything.
No. Palmer looks at you and says, if you're going to be my bodyguard and follow me around, you're going to have to be strapped for that.
How many bullets in each clip?
Each magazine holds 10 rounds, and there's 2 magazines.
That's like a sweet pickup there.
Yeah.
All right. So so basically, I figure you guys are going to make arrangements to get together at some point in that evening, maybe for dinner or drinks or something like that, to sort of share, the various things of your day. Palmer says he's happy to join, and he, that kind of stuff. Is that do you guys want to meet at the ship, or do you want to meet at the $7 Grand or some other place? What do you guys want to do? Okay.
We can meet at the ship.
Do we want to? I think we want more than one night out of eating in luxury before you eat on the ship, right?
Do we have time for that?
Do we? I don't know.
Sure, you got as much time as you want. It's going to be a couple of days before they get all the cargo loaded.
Okay. Yeah.
So they've got to gather it up. They've got to move it from various places. Yeah, Weber's walking on air. He's scored.
So yeah, we should meet $7 Grand.
He's got his Romulan ale over there. He's ready to go.
All right, so they hook you up with a cloister, so they're obviously like, Captain Black, welcome back to the $7 Grand. Would you and your crewmates like to like a private room?
That would be swell. Thanks.
Indeed. Please come. Let's go to room 5. And they escort you over there. It's set up. It's bigger than room 4, actually. So all of you guys are very comfortable. There's a couple of view screens, which are one of them is playing the local sport ball team for Asensio Station. The other one is got, it's on mute. The other one is, a scene from outside looking at the various planets and stuff like that.
The local sport ball team.
The local sport ball team.
Go sport ball.
The Asensio Anuses are playing the
you are into sports, aren't you?
the Spofulam Suckheads for the sport ball championship.
Go sport.
Yeah.
Go sport. We love sport.
We're almost down to watching roaches run through mazes now, right?
Yeah.
So, menus come out, and so the maitre d' comes over, takes drinks orders, and basically says, I just wanted to let you know that tonight's dinner is compliments of Elrin Spofulam.
Sure, I'm stuck with
says to express
Porter.
your thanks. He once again to express his thanks, and he looks forward to speaking with you again soon. And so orders done. So,
Lobster.
what are you guys gonna do next? So you got a couple of things happening, right? So on one hand, you've got Captain Black. You've got some splaining to do because you've essentially you've made some unwilling participants out of your crewmates. Weber's got.
I think this is a pretty lucrative deal. I don't think they're going to be very unwilling.
All right. Well, he's already dropped 2 megs on you. And the cargo deal, and Weber's like, the cargo deal that I brokered today is probably going to put us. It's almost a half a meg in cargo to Greenpernt. And you said, he looks at Captain Black. He's like, you said we were going to Greenpernt, so that's what I did. And then Gok, you have a new pistol in your possession. So,
Yeah, but I'm missing out on the free meal.
No, you're with Palmer. Palmer's there with you.
Okay.
So Palmer was like, look, I haven't. He goes, look, I haven't got any new information about anything. I've been putting my affairs in order, but it looks like my lines of credit are okay. He's like, honestly, I may, because of my situation, I may have to relocate temporarily here to Mirabilis. I'm looking at potentially relocating my efforts here. It's a safe place, and I know some people that will keep me in the loop. And frankly, it's a much bigger place, and I don't have to worry about railguns being shot at Asensio Station. So big city life. So he basically tells you he's going to help. He's going to stay in touch, and he's definitely going to be on the bubble with you guys. He goes, I haven't forgotten my promise to you about getting you guys the weaponry that you guys were asking for. I'm in the works on that. I'll keep you posted as far as how that progresses. I know, Black, we were talking about ship's weaponry. I wanted to ask you guys if there was other weaponry that you guys were interested in acquiring.
Can we have some time to think about that? That's me asking you. Not me asking him.
Sure.
Since it's midnight anyway.
Is it? Oh, okay. Yeah. So yeah, you guys have time to think about it, and so it might be something that you guys want to consult with Doyle about and say, look. So basically, Palmer is like, look, I can get you a couple of things. Now, you've already said that you want some sort of either retractable or camouflaged weaponry for your ship, like space guns for the starship weapons. That I can help you out with, and I can help you out with installation as well, and make it something that's not going to draw a lot of
real obvious, gets in trouble, right?
The other thing I deal with are personal weapons, and primarily military weapons. Now, I might not be able to get you a case of fully automatic Gauss guns fresh from the shop, but and I don't know that you would even want you. None of you, I imagine, are trained with it. Black might be the only one who's ever even seen such a weapon. It's typically like Space Marine shit. It wouldn't necessarily be something that you could lug around. It's like, throwing flechettes at a rate of 2,000 a second, might draw attention.
Are you saying we're not Scott?
Exactly. But there are other weapons. I mean, think about it, and it might be, certainly laser carbines, rifles, extra laser rifles, blaster pistols, ammunition for everything.
Is there something that's better than a body pistol for body pistols? I'm pretty fond of my body pistol because it saved our bacon twice. But
sweetness, you're talking about, yeah. So, I mean, there are various variations, but for most part, a body pistol is. There's no masterwork or +1 body pistol or anything like that. If you wanted to get like better at it, I mean, there are cybernetic implants if you want to get a targeting eye or some sort of concealing thing, so you could do that taxi driver sort of where it comes popping out of a thing. That's a range mode. But the pistol itself, I mean, it's not magic, so it's not. Yeah,
can I get one of those James West up your sleeve pistol, remember his little Derringer popping into
The
his
little
hand?
Derringer popper? Sure, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, essentially what you would be looking for is potentially a cybernetic implant where the gun is, you take your wrist bones and tendons are rerouted around a small like section that would pop out, and the gun would come out and fly into your hand based on a sort of a cyber mechanical sort of like clip thing.
Yeah, now we're talking.
So you could do that. So essentially quick draw. But yeah, I mean, that's something that you could get here at Ascensio. I don't know that I would get a lot of cybernetic work at Greenprint. I mean, you could, I suppose.
Get what you pay for, though.
You guys have a targeting eye. The doctor ripped it out of some chick's head.
That's true. And an adrenal pump, too.
Get you a good deal.
So that's another thing that's interesting, that you guys did not bring up the fact that you still have a captive. What are you going to do with her?
Yeah, we'll get back to you on that one too.
Okay.
Yeah, we're going to think about this. I think we agreed earlier we're going to do no evil, but I don't know exactly what to do with her now.
I think
I thought
we
turning
could
into
give
a
her
party.
over to our new friends at the our new corporate allies. Our corporate.
That could be.
Yeah.
You could
Les,
interrogate them.
Yep.
I'm going gambling one more time.
At Ascensio?
Yeah.
All right. Roll it up, bud. Oh, what's your bet? Wait.
I bet 500.
You wrote a macro. You're addicted.
Yes.
You broke even again.
Yep.
You call yourself a gambler.
Better than losing.
Yeah. All right. Lots to think about. Lots of things to talk about next steps. But it sounds like your next step is going to be a 2-week jump to Greenprint to see what's what.
When's our next Traveler game?
That's a great question. It will be the 4th week.
4 weeks,
May. Uno momento.
Will I still be locked in my house then? It's hard to say.
Probably.
Yes.
People are dropping like flies in my Facebook lately. So everybody take care of themselves.
24th.
Google
May
calendar.
24th, and that is Memorial Day weekend.
May 24th. So yeah, we could go along. We also have a fifth Sunday in May, which by tradition is a you pick 'em.
So
if you guys wanted to, we might even be able to and could overrule the other authorities. We could maybe do 2 travelers in a row.
Ooh,
my goodness.
That's a lot of travel. I do enjoy this character in this group though. So
yeah,
I'm having fun with it too. And now I've got an ally on my side.
Hey Les, yeah, that was good. Hey Les, your chopper voice. That's my new favorite voice.
Yeah, you like that voice, huh?
And actually, great job for you and Chuck. That
yeah.
hotline was
Yeah,
fascinating.
good job, Chuck.
So, thank you for that hard work.
Nice.
Yeah, thank me later if you're still happy about how it turns out.
Yeah,
That's all right. We
All
want
right.
intrigue. We got intrigue now.
Guys, I'm going to bed.
You got intrigue out the yin yang.
Night, Don.
I honestly,
Good night.
night, Don.
Yeah,
All right,
good night,
thanks, you
guys.
guys.
I honestly
Don.
figured you'd have a guy